When I close my eyes, I hear a long stifled cry.
Thank you for joining us here Anzac Day in Melbourne. We are on St Kilda Road and I'm sure you're enjoying watching some of that footage from no matter wherever you are. For some of those who are new to Anzac Day here in Australia, or some of our people that are watching overseas, you might want to know what Anzac Day means. Anzac Day, Australia, New Zealand, Army Corps is what Anzac stands for. As you guessed, Australia and New Zealand primarily are the two countries that celebrate it. However, we have a whole range of countries that are allies all across the globe. What we do is we get together once a year to commemorate the work, the service, the sacrifice that's been done for our country. It's a sense of pride more than anything else, and it's a sense of coming together and making sure that we never forget that pride. Today, these times, we're living in relatively settled times, but it hasn't always been like this. So today we come together to celebrate, commemorate, and give our thoughts and prayers to those that have lost their lives and those that are still with us. Those that are still with us are here today marching down St Kilda Road. We're covering live down here in Melbourne. However, those that have friends, relatives, they are down here as well, walking together as one family unit. And it's fantastic to see the number of kids, the number of children that are here to witness and see as they learn and are educated into all of the amazing acts and feats of bravery that these fine Australian and New Zealanders have done along with our allies. We're going to cross to some more vision of the parade. We'll keep you updated. For all of those watching, thank you for tuning in and watching, and perhaps next year you want to come down and see us live and watch the parade right here in St Kilda Road.
You've been away so long, you might not recognize my face, but in my soul and haunted dreams, you still have a special place. I may be left behind here in the sunburned land, but you know that I will wait for you to hold your loving hand. Sometimes at night when the world's asleep, you slip into my mind. I feel your love go far from home and loved ones left behind. Sometimes at night when the world's asleep, I steal into your walls, shelter from loneliness, to find a place of comfort from the storm. When I close my eyes, I hear a long stifled cry from someone's son or someone's love, a man who fights and dies. But one day soon I pray, across the sea and far, I will see his face when peace is won. My love finally comes
Is there a way for you to set up there?
We're doing another stand-up, eh?
Yep.
Yeah, this is good. Yeah.
Holding umbrella. So much easier. Yep, yeah, come let you know.
Massive bicep by the time this day's over.
You will, mate, you will. That's what it's all about. We're nearly ready, buddy.
If you're gonna talk to somebody, are you doing a stand-up or are you gonna talk to somebody?
We're going to do a vlog spot. Just give us maybe 45 seconds to set up.
I need you to be down though because the other person might be as high as you.
And of course, welcome to all our viewers around the world here in Melbourne. We're broadcasting live the Anzac Day March for 2012. You're looking at images coming to you live from Melbourne. We can see the march progressing. Of course, this year is a slightly shorter parade route. Of course, as many of our veterans are getting on in age, we've reduced the parade route. It's used to be 1.5 kilometres, now it's only about 800 metres. The images we're seeing here, of course, are the fantastic Women's Royal Australian Army Corps, the Women's Services. Where would we be without them? The Australian Women's Land Army, which was active between 1942 and 1946. Women played a very important part in certainly in the Second World War here in Australia. And you can see some fantastic vintage cars as well. Of course, not only have we got many widows and of war veterans, but we've also got many women who are involved in the wars over the years. The weather here in Melbourne, of course, is not been kind to us today. Many Anzac marches have taken place in the rain today. Has been very very heavy. You can see the official party is marching.
I'm starting to regret bringing only vans.
This, of course, is a number of government officials, representative of the Prime Minister, of course. The eternal flame burning brightly at the Shrine of Remembrance here in Melbourne. This morning for the dawn service, the Shrine of Remembrance was, of course, covered with many thousands of people. Some of them are even huddling around the eternal flame to keep themselves warm in the torrential downpour. Great shot there, looking straight down St Kilda Road back into the city. The Australian Army Band Melbourne playing on screen now. The Australian Army Band is a very, very popular part of the Australian Army and performs around the country hundreds of times a year. Again, the Australian Army Band, quite a significant organisation. They were also playing this morning at the dawn service. And you can see from those images that the rain is certainly coming down. But despite that, an excellent turnout, showing that people from Melbourne really do respect and are thankful for the service that these men and women have given their country.
Now this is quite remarkable. We have literally a queue of people waiting to get a photo with our brave servicemen here. You guys.
We were the two of the youngest. I'm only 65 now.
Oh, I can't go anywhere with that. I think you've got everyone in stitches already. You guys are out here today. You've braved the weather, and it's not too bad at the moment.
Yeah. And I brought my two girlfriends with me.
You did? Pop over here. Pop over here. It's great to see all the family and all the girlfriends that you've got out here.
Sugar daddy. Yeah, that's right.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. Absolutely nothing wrong with that at all.
He's actually my toy boy.
He is?
Yeah.
He is? Oh, now, in all humility, it is a day to get together with your family and think about that Australian spirit and that sense of pride that we have for our nation. What does Anzac Day mean to you?
It means a lot. We've got possibly two of us marching today out of 1,006. I think we've got 13 still left. It means a lot because we lost so many, you know. I find it's a very emotional day.
Yeah, it is.
But it means a lot. And there's two of us left, and I'll possibly be the last one.
I guess it's amazing to have you both down here, and no wonder everyone's taking your photos. You guys are absolutely heroes. How does it feel to be down here?
Oh, wonderful, actually. It's great to be here at this age, and I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to do it, but we're going to do it as long as we can, aren't we, Harold?
Yeah. And we've got
no about the weather because we went through worse weather than this in Burma, didn't we? It rained for 6 months solid up there.
And just in a loincloth. And you realise we've got no makeup on today, do you?
We all saw the makeup artist over there run away before we got you on show. That's okay. But tell me, what are your secrets to such a happy and such a strong life? I mean, what is it that you do that's a little bit different?
Yeah, well, that's a help too. But
his wife.
What's kept this bloke going is his sense of humour. He's got a wonderful sense of humour. I'll tell you a little story. This bloke was in the water. He got sunk on the way to Japan, and he was in the water for 6 days. And while he was in the water, he yelled out to all his mates, "Now listen, mates, you're not in any trouble. You've got to remember, we're free. We're free."
Actually, I said to you bastards, realise we're free.
So when you were sunk and when you're in the water for 6 days, you were still cracking jokes?
Yeah. Well, there's nothing else to do.
Now, it's absolutely fantastic that you've come down here today with your family. And what are some of the important messages that you want to pass on to everyone that's watching at home that maybe couldn't make it today or from around the world?
Well, if they didn't make it today, they're frightened of water. But we find each year there's more and more young people coming in, and that's a great thing, you know. They're interested now, very interested in it.
It is good.
Yes, and we've had such good mates. We've lost them. We lost about 2,000 died when we got torpedoed. So we've got a lot to remember. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. In terms of the future generations, what are some of the messages you want to pass on?
Well, we've got a wonderful group of younger generation. You might see them behind us here. We've probably got best part of 100 younger generation here today.
Without them, we wouldn't be here.
And without them, that's right. And they're going to keep the memory of our unit alive for years to come, we hope. And they're certainly showing the enthusiasm to do that, yeah.
I'll make sure they will. Don't worry about it. I'll keep an eye on them for you.
Thank you.
All right, now I better get out of here because it's raining and you guys are about to start marching forward down St Kilda Road. What do you think about the shorter march this year?
Well, no, that doesn't bother us. No, but I'll tell you what, for years and years and years, they've tried to shorten the march on us, and we've always rejected the idea of a short march, but now it's been forced on us because of the Swanson Street works. So I suppose on a day like this, we can't complain, can we?
We're still out here. We're all together.
And they've been saying, my family was saying, "You've got to go in the car, Dad." I said, "When I get in the car, I'll be in the front car at a funeral."
All right, well, guys, really passionate, and that is exactly what the Anzac spirit is all about. You two gentlemen absolutely make us so proud. So thanks very much for taking a quick moment to talk to us.
Thanks a lot.
We're going to cross to some more footage of the Anzac Parade live down here, St Kilda Road, Melbourne, 2012. Thanks, guys.
And of course, some very sobering words there that 2,000 people were torpedoed. And of course, the 2 remaining veterans, which is great to have them as part of this parade. If you've just joined us, we are broadcasting the 2012 Anzac Day March live from Melbourne. You're looking at some images from the Shrine of Remembrance. Of course, for our overseas viewers who aren't aware of what Anzac Day is about, Australia commemorates Anzac Day on the 25th of April every year. On that date in 1915, military forces from Australia and New Zealand landed on the Gallipoli Peninsula in Turkey. They were part of an Allied campaign. British and French troops also landed that day. Anzac Day remains a day of remembrance marked by dawn services, veterans marches and other activities all throughout Australia and New Zealand, also throughout the world. The Prime Minister, Julia Gillard, will be at Gallipoli this afternoon, Australian time, as the dawn service there is commemorated. Anzac is an acronym, it's a protected word, and it's also the subject of much debate. It began as an acronym in 1915, and it stands for Australian and New Zealand Army Corps. That's ANZAC, ANZAC. It quickly came into common use, and in 1921 a law was passed in Australia to protect the word Anzac. So today, Anzac can't be used in any advertising. On screen we have the 4th Combat Service Support Battalion, and these images are coming to you live from Melbourne. By way of background with the Gallipoli landing, the Gallipoli landing in 1915 was an integral part of the campaign. It was more commonly referred to as the Dardanelles campaign, but of course today we call it the Gallipoli landings. It happened on the 25th of April, and that's why we celebrate Anzac Day on this day. An interesting part of Anzac Day, of course, was John Simpson and his donkey. And for those people overseas who don't know the story, in Australia, children at primary school here are taught the history of Gallipoli landings through Simpson's story. What is known about John Simpson is that he was born in Britain. He's worked his way around Australia and then signed up for the Australian Imperial Force in Perth. He was actually going back to England, he had hoped, so he could visit his mother. Instead, he found himself in Egypt and then Turkey. He landed at Anzac Cove on the first day, which was the 25th of April, with the 3rd Field Ambulance of the Australian Army Medical Corps. He befriended a donkey known as Abdul, or Duffy he was also known as, and Simpson and Duffy transported injured men up and down Shrapnel Gully. On the 19th of May, he was only aged 22 when he was shot through the heart, and he is now buried in Beach Cemetery. Simpson is famous for his bravery, and he rescued over 300 men from the battlefield. But on to World War II now, as you can see as the images change. World War II is starting the march up. We're shortly going to see the second Australian Imperial Force, the 2nd Australian Imperial Force First Corps. And on screen you can see the leader of the 2nd AF. That's the First Corps there, and as you can see, that's the 2nd AF Victorian Division. And they're active between 1939 and 1945. They're going to be followed by First Corps Headquarters. And it's great to see such a very strong turnout today. A number of diggers marching for the first time this year. So this is the First Corps Headquarters. The Australian General Transport Company, the 2nd Beach Group. On screen, we're looking up the entrance to the Shrine of Remembrance as marchers turn off St Kilda Road up Birdwood Avenue to the Shrine of Remembrance. Here are the commando units, marching on behalf of the Commando Association. And behind the Commando Association, we have the M and Z Special Units. We can see the marching progressing there, and of course the weather in Melbourne today has not been very kind to the diggers. A lot of the diggers that are marching today are accompanied by their children or grandchildren. This is, of course, the very, very famous Z Special Unit. And the M and Z units are marching now. Of course, they've been all over the world. And you can see a lot of the marchers are very highly decorated too. It's great to see them wearing their medals today. And of course, if the Anzacs don't march, their family march on their behalf. Here we have the 2nd 11 Field Regiment, the Darwin Fortress. And as you can see from the banners, they too have been stationed in some pretty hairy places: Palestine, Syria, New Guinea, Bougainville. Behind those, the 2nd 11 Field Regiment, we have the 2nd 1st Survey Regiment. And you can see from the images that it really is, the rain is really intermittent today. We'll be back after this break. You are watching the broadcast of the 2012 Anzac Day March, live to you from Melbourne.
Now, it's a pleasure to meet so many committed people down here. And in terms of travel, I think, Richard, you've travelled over a couple of thousand kilometres to get here today. Tell us a bit about your journey to get here.
I have, yeah. No, I flew down earlier in the week from Brisbane, and family and friends, caught up with my mother and father and all that sort of thing. Yeah, so very good. Yeah.
So in terms of Anzac Day in Brisbane, what happens up there?
They have a dawn service in the city centre at Anzac Square, and that's very well patronised, and also around at the local RSLs around Brisbane.
Great. Now, tell me, what's your reason and motivation for coming down here to Melbourne?
To march in my grandfather's unit, which was the 3rd Divisional Signals.
Great. And these are some of the medals here?
Yeah, that's a miniature of his medals, yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah. And what does that mean to you? I mean, you've probably been coming down every year religiously.
For at least the last 10 years, yeah.
So it must mean a lot. Anzac Day is something that is such a fantastic day because it gives us an opportunity to pass that sense of pride through the generations.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's certainly very important. Also, my father-in-law was in the 2nd 4th Armoured Regiment up in Bougainville, and we catch up with his group afterwards, of which there's only about 5 or 6 left, so yeah. They're dwindling fast, unfortunately.
It's great to catch up for a beer though, isn't it?
Oh, it is, definitely. And they've got some great stories to tell.
And tell us about some of that. What are some of the stories that you've been managed to get out of them? Because I know a lot of ex-servicemen don't like to talk about some of the experiences because they're so traumatic.
No, they don't talk about it a lot, and they tell you some pretty hairy stories at times, but yeah, I mean, a lot of the camaraderie, I think, is what really comes through in those get-togethers, and they talk about what they did and where they went and what actually happened out in the field, which was pretty horrendous, certainly in the Pacific area. Yeah.
So I think in terms of having that knowledge, you're quite lucky in a sense to be able to understand how close we were to not having our freedom.
Oh, absolutely.
The form we have it today.
Absolutely, and we live in the best country in the world. So and these guys, we owe them an absolute ton of gratitude for what they've done.
Absolutely. Now tell me about your two-up skills.
None. Absolutely none whatsoever. So I can't help you there. No, none whatsoever.
Okay, all right. You look like you'd be all right. You're trying to hustle me for my
No, not at all, not at all. No, I don't even have any pennies. No pennies with me, sorry.
Great. Now, in terms of the younger generation and people that might not have family that have served in the war or some people that have moved to Australia, what are some of the things that we can do to help support them? I know there's the RSL Club, but what are some of the things and some of the community groups that we can get behind to support?
Well, I guess legacy is probably the biggest one that we need to get behind because they look after the returned servicemen and their families, and if you can give the legacy, that's probably the best thing you can do.
Yeah, fantastic. Now we'll definitely do that instead of putting money on the tour. I'll give
that's
it
probably
to
a very good idea. Very good idea.
Great. All right, Richard. I'll let you get back in together with your group there and get ready for a beer with those ex-servicemen that have done so well and must be really proud.
Okay, thanks very much.
We're going to cross now to some more vision of the parade, and as you can see down here in St Kilda, it's it's nudging on 10:30, and the streets are just absolutely filled with people of all ages, and I guess it's just great to be able to have amazing pieces of army equipment such as the army trucks that we have behind us. And one of the key messages that's come through today is to continue to support the people that are serving and the current servicemen. So that's the people in the Army, Navy, Air Force. It is difficult, you don't always think about it, but Anzac Day might just be that day where we think about supporting our friends and our fellow mates that are fighting for our freedom. I'm Logan. Let's cross back to some more footage of the parade.
And that's Logan Cortman down on the parade route for the 2012 Anzac Day March. So on screen, of course, we're seeing the parade march up to the Shrine of Remembrance here in Melbourne. As you can see on screen, this is all the support companies. We just had the transport. Of course, just seen the transport companies. We've seen the fuel supply companies. And of course, it's interesting to note that when you watch the parade, if the marcher is marching with their own medals, they wear them on their left-hand side over their breast, over their heart. And of course, if you're wearing a relative's medals, they're worn on the right-hand side. So when you're watching these pictures, you can see if someone has won the medals themselves. Of course, the 2nd 6th Infantry Battalion fought in a number of the major theatres. They're going to be followed by the 2nd 7th Infantry Battalion, the 2nd 4th and the 2nd 8th Infantry Battalion. On screen we have the 2nd 7th Australian Infantry Battalion. Now, overseas viewers might wonder why sprigs of rosemary are worn. Rosemary grows wild in the Gallipoli Peninsula and over the years has become a sign of remembrance, particularly on Anzac Day. It's traditional to wear a sprig of rosemary on the lapel, the left side normally, or it's held in place by the veterans' medals. Sometimes, in addition to rosemary, people can be seen wearing poppies. These are the red poppy was first described as a flower of remembrance by a Canadian colonel, John McCrae. He served in France as a medical officer during World War I. And folklore says that the poppies sprang from the devastation of war and were red from the blood of the fallen soldiers. So poppies are a very popular sign of remembrance here in Australia, and they're often placed on war graves or next to the names of soldiers engraved on memorials. As you can see there, we've got some family members marching. You can see the sprig of rosemary and the poppy on these marches. This veteran on screen at the moment is wearing medals both for himself and also, we would imagine, for his fallen comrades, because it's on both sides. This gentleman here, of course, with the 108th General Transport Company. And of course, here we have the 2nd 4th Australian General Hospital. A very important, very, very important role they filled and continue to fill. The field hospitals, of course, put under enormous pressure during conflict. The nurses and the doctors. You can see from that shot just how heavy the rain is at the moment out there. It's really falling down in Melbourne. From this morning when the dawn service was held at the Shrine of Remembrance, and it continues to fall throughout the day. You are watching pictures from the 2012 Anzac Day March in Melbourne. The time is just after 10 o'clock here in Melbourne, and the parade will continue for about another 2 hours, finishes about 12 o'clock. As we can see here, the 1st Australian Ordnance Field Park. As you can see, they fought in Tobruk and El Alamein, which were very ferocious fields of battle. You can see a number of the vintage cars are also being donated. They're a regular feature of Anzac Day marches around Australia. A number of the vintage car associations donate their cars and their drivers on the days. And of course, if you want to email troops, you can email messages to the troops at defence.gov.newsouthwales.au, and that is those messages go straight to the troops. They're troops fighting overseas at the moment in Afghanistan, and we can see here the 2nd Field Workshop. Very, very important services. All the engineer corps and all the support services who've got an enormously difficult role to play and often very thankless role to play as well. We'll be back very shortly here at the 2012 Anzac Day March in Melbourne. We're just going to go for a break.
There's an escalating food crisis in West Africa. Drought has destroyed food crops, leaving families with little or nothing to eat. CARE is strengthening community food banks, training medical staff to prevent malnutrition and helping families develop alternative food sources. Early action saves lives. Every dollar spent in emergency prevention can save 7 in emergency response. You can help. Please donate to CARE's West Africa Appeal today. Visit care.org.au or call 1800 020 046.
There's a whole new way to create.
A big part of the march are the musicians, and it wouldn't be possible without you. Thanks for coming down today and braving the elements.
Yeah, well, we do it every year. Been doing it for the last, well, over 10 years now. And this is the first time we've been caught with rain.
I don't know about your luck, but this is the first time we've live streamed out to the world. So
okay.
maybe they're just testing us, throwing you for
Hello,
the show. There may be some people over in Ireland that you'd like to say hi to.
They might call us wussies because it's raining over there all the time.
Now you're out in the complete traditional
yeah.
kilt. Yep.
You can see it. Yeah, just a plain green kilt.
Yep. Fantastic.
And, the rest is all rain.
And what does this mean down
That's
here?
Heart Baron.
Yep.
Okay.
So.
The,
okay, great. And each different group of Irish musicians have different outfits to go with. They're different.
Depends what they're doing. Like pipe bands, usually all the same. Different uniform, different band sort of thing. Some have tartans, some have plain like we've got.
Yeah.
Some have 3 drones. We've got the old 2 droner.
Okay. What's the difference between the 3 and the 2 drones?
This is like the older style, and then they sort of changed throughout the 60s and gone into three drones.
Okay, fantastic.
More air for us.
Now, is it difficult playing for that long? I guess you're a professional. Are there some challenges out there?
Yeah, you just got to look ahead and just keep playing, have a quick break, and then back into it again.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we used to start right down miles away into the city, but we've shortened it a bit. So.
And what does Anzac Day mean to you? I mean, for you, it's a great place to come down and perform and really give the bags a big blow. But what does Anzac Day mean to you, mate?
Well, it's a big symbol for Australia. My grandparents, great uncles, cousins all fought throughout the wars throughout the century, so it means a bit to me. Trace, your grandfather in the services as well.
Yeah, and I think the fact that everyone's coming down here and the number of young people down.
That's right, yeah. It's been big with the young ones every year. It's a good sign, I think. And of course, we're in conflict at the moment, so it's very relevant too, current.
What do you think, just quickly, your thoughts on the current servicemen and people that are with the armed forces right now? Are there some things that we should do to maybe raise the awareness or raise the profile of the work they're doing?
Yeah, well, any war, I suppose, there's a negative element to it. I think Australians are doing what they can at the moment, and in fact, they might be pulling them out in the future, be a sign or something. So, all support wherever you can, I suppose.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. And now I'm going to have to just try and use this thing. If you can just help me, how does this actually work? Because for a lot of people at home, they've wanted to figure out how this actually works, because it looks easy.
Yeah,
it looks so easy.
Well, we're going to make it even easier.
Tracy, you hold the microphone for us.
Slip that under your arm there.
Right.
I'll hold this for you.
Yeah. Okay. So far so good.
All right. So that into the mouth. So top hand on first floor, and you just hold that and start blowing.
That's easy.
I don't know what all the fuss was about.
That is so easy. If you haven't had a chance to play the bagpipes, you are seriously missing out. I think I hit maybe 1.5 notes there.
Yeah, actually none, because you've got to get them through there. Yeah, you got
okay.
pass first base. Anyway.
Okay, well look, we made some noise, and that's what we're here to do.
No worries.
Better let you head up to the front of the parade there and do what you do best.
Nice talking to you. Thanks very much.
Absolutely great. Thanks, Tracy. All the best. Guys, in terms of coming down here on Anzac Day, there is the dawn service. If you've missed it, that's okay, because we were up early in the morning and filming it in 7 degrees and rain going sideways. However, when the parade comes down, you really don't have an excuse to miss it and come out and witness your ex-servicemen's marching. Who knows, you might get a chance to play the bagpipes like we did. So we recommend that. We also recommend having a look at the Legacy RSL clubs and seeing what you can do throughout the year to support your ex-servicemen. It's not just Anzac Day where we need to commemorate and think about these guys. So again, down here in St Kilda in Melbourne is an absolutely fantastic day despite it being 10 degrees. We're going to cross now to some more footage brought to you by our sponsors.
There's a whole new way to create the best tasting fries without the oil, just with air. Introducing the Philips Air Fryer. For fabulous fries, just add air.
Lily didn't have much to smile about. 50% of the children in her community were malnourished, and diseases like diarrhoea, one of the biggest killers of children in poor communities, were common because of untreated water. And with her parents' income barely enough to cover basic needs, Lily was facing a future of sickness and basic survival. Thankfully, through Plan, Lily is now a sponsored child. $43 a month is making all the difference to Lily's future. Lily and her entire community now have a plan that has started their journey out of poverty. A new preschool building, new toilets, clean water and better hygiene. A plan that has changed the direction of Lily's life. Now, Lily says she hopes to become a teacher. With your help, $43 a month, a child just like Lily will have a plan for a better future too. Call 137526, go online or search for Lily's plan. And for $43 a month, you can see a child like Lily smile.
At Red Energy, we believe in people. We believe in community. And we believe in giving every Australian the energy they need to achieve their dreams. We're 100% Australian owned. And we're 100% committed to serve, because that's the Australian way. Red, we're living energy.
Hi there, can I help?
Yeah, can you explain car insurance to me in plain English?
How does amazing insurance with awesome discounts sound?
I can get that.
Sure, we've done it for millions of other people.
Great.
And we'll throw in a lifetime repair guarantee.
Fantastic.
And personalised claims support at no extra charge.
Fantastic-er.
Fantastic-er.
Technically, that's not plain English.
Don't worry, it'll catch on.
Get fantastic savings with Progressive Online Car Insurance.
Welcome back to our live broadcast here from Melbourne, Australia, and we're looking at the 2012 Anzac Day March, coming to you live thanks to our sponsors. You saw a few messages from them then. We're in the 7th Division AF. It's the on screen at the moment, the 2nd 27th Australian Infantry Battalion. And if you've just joined us, of course, it's a very, very wet day here in Melbourne, which is unusual for Melbourne, usually sunny and warm and balmy. But today, of course, we're celebrating and remembering our Anzacs. If you are joining us from overseas, ANZAC stands for Australian New Zealand Army Corps, and the phrase was coined in 1915. As we can see here, these marches are predominantly marching for family who did serve. The way that we tell is the medals are worn on the left-hand side if you are the actual marcher, if you are the actual digger who won the medals, and of course over the breast. And on the right-hand side if you're wearing them on behalf of family. Family are permitted to march. And of course today, normally the route for the march here in Melbourne is about 1.5 kilometres. It has been shortened for today. It's only about 800 metres. As our diggers are getting on, the Royal Australian Engineers were just on screen. Of course, the 2nd 1st Australian Machine Gun Battalion. A number of the diggers, of course, getting on. As you saw, that gentleman there was sight impaired, but they still come out and march. The 2nd Pioneer Battalion. The Pioneers do a fantastic job. They're always out there ahead of. Yeah, they build the bridges. They do all the hard work. And of course, this morning when we were all standing out there in the rain, we were thinking back to how hard some of these conflicts must have been in the First and Second World Wars and the Vietnam War. Anzac Day wasn't always as popular as it is now. Back in the early 70s, the Vietnam War, of course, was a very troubling time, and a lot of people weren't as supportive of the Anzacs as they are today. It is great to see so many young people come out, so many families and so forth. Of course, the Army Service Corps is trucks and support vehicles, absolutely vital to any conflict, and they do an absolutely fantastic job. We're going to cross back down live to St Kilda Road where we've got Logan Cortman with some diggers.
I guess the...
You can get rid of the umbrellas, it's not raining.
Don't sell them, don't sell them. Don't worry, don't worry.
Now, even though we are towards the Yarra River, there's still a massive queue of cars and people and ex-servicemen here lining up, ready to walk down St Kilda Road. And I've been lucky enough to be joined by some true legends and some true icons. These young gentlemen here have taken the time to have a quick chat with us. So thanks very much, first of all, I appreciate it.
Good. My name's Nipper Taylor. I joined up when I was 17. We done our training in Australia when we served in New Guinea and also in Bougainville. Our unit was the Australian Army Service Corps, which we supplied food, ammunition and petrol to the troops in New Guinea, and also some of the food, and that was dropped by aeroplane, and we had to, with the use of the native carriers, we had to retrieve that, and we made up what they call boy packs, and the natives used to carry them on their shoulder up to the troops in the front line.
So it was quite a treacherous task, and there'd be a lot of people relying on you.
Yeah, oh yes, but the natives don't underestimate them. Without them, we wouldn't have been here today. Yeah. They were fantastic. Yeah. They were really good.
Now, did all you gentlemen spend some time together?
Yes.
Get rid of them. I tried to.
You still can't get rid of them.
Went in as a private, done 4 years, and still a private when I come out.
Yeah, that's right. We got promoted from a private to a private. Yeah. So we used to tell the officers what to do.
I got extra 5 cents a week. Once at the finish, I was 5 cents extra.
Now it seems like you had some good times and some ways to keep your spirits up by a bit of banter.
Well, we're all together, you know. Well, if we had a pound, which was that currency at that time, we'd share it with everybody, you know. We slept the same, we ate the same, you know, wore the same clothing, and mateship was a great big thing. It's hard to explain.
One of the funniest things I had happened to me on a dropping ground, the planes were dropping the thing, the natives were waiting to bring the stuff up, and another boy line came down, and I said to the chief, sit them on backside in my best pidgin English, and I'll see you when the goods came in, the stores came in. I went out and said in my best pidgin English, well, what do you want? And he said, Mr. Argus of Angal sent me down here to supervise the spoil line because there has been pilfering on the way between the things. And I said, where did you learn to speak English? I have a BA from Sydney University.
So you couldn't get anything past the locals. In essence, the locals were just as important as your crew back home.
Definitely, yeah. As I said before, without them we wouldn't have been here today. No. I firmly believe that. Yeah.
And what are some of the messages that you'd like to send to the future generations and people watching around the world? What are some of the things that they need to learn and some of the messages that aren't brought up every day in the media?
Keep the Anzac spirit up, which they had to. They attended the dawn service, and the young ones that are here today, and through the schools, and I reckon it, terrific. Should never die out. It will never die out, because we're Australians, and that's it.
I reckon my mother and father used to say, I don't know what's ever going to happen to you. Well, we're still saying today to the young ones, say, what's ever going to happen to you, but to live a life, you'll survive. They'll get over it. I know they're having wild times now, but they'll pass it.
Yeah.
They'll be right in the future.
Yeah.
We can't let the country just fall apart.
And in terms of supporting the current servicemen, it's something that we don't talk about a lot. So the guys in the Navy, the Air Force, what is it that we should do in terms of supporting them at the moment, the guys that are serving now, the young guys?
Support them, like the ones in Afghanistan. They're there for a purpose. They said they were going to bring them home. Oh, well, that's well and good, but they're doing a terrific job. Like everybody my father was in the First World War, and what the wars they've been through in in Vietnam and things like that, and we've got to support them. Always got to support our servicemen.
Now, you guys need to head down there for the march. Thank you so much for taking your time. Nifty. Thank you very much.
We'll get paid next week. Good.
Yeah, I need to sort out the payment, do I? Okay, here we go. Here we go. What do you guys take? Okay, here, grab a couple of beers. There we go. Grab a couple of beers.
No.
Grab a couple of beers.
No.
We talked about sharing a pound amongst our mates, and it'd be good to have a beer with these guys a bit later on at the pub, because you just don't get to meet characters like this. So hard, so tolerant, so tough, still coming down here, braving the elements, walking a kilometre down to the Shrine of Remembrance. And in this day and age, to find blokes like that, it's truly genuine, it's awesome, and makes you feel great. So if you want to feel great as well, perhaps support and donate some of the good charities that do good work with our ex-servicemen. We're going to cross to some more footage here down in St Kilda of this amazing day, Anzac Day 2012.
Thanks, Logan. Logan, of course, being side of field there for us. Well done. And of course, we are broadcasting to you live from the 2012 Anzac Day March here in Melbourne. We have the 2nd 21 Gull Force units passing by at the moment. We're, of course, in the 8th Division, for those of you who've just joined us. Now, by way of the order of the march is traditionally determined by the RSL, and that's the Return Services League here in Australia. Basically, for historical and traditional reasons, members of the Navy often march at the head of the parade, followed by members of the Army and then the Air Force. Some organisers invite current serving members of the Defence Force to march first as a sign of respect. Now, large marches such as these, and as you can see on your screen at the moment, we have a real fantastic display of what the First World War would have looked like with these battalions. And you can see a traditional gas mask there, and the horse's gas mask. Horses and donkeys and support animals were really vital to the effort in the First World War. The 8th Division signals. Now, signals divisions are very, very, very important as they really hold the communications together on these, for these units.
The thing people don't realise today is that signals in those days was not radio and links like we have today, but they actually had to run wire, and those little, you might see in the movies, little funny telephones where they turn the handle. And some of these fellows had to crawl out through very dangerous territory to make sure the cables were laid down, and so they could communicate between trenches or between different groups. Quite different today. There was no mobile phones back then.
And I guess it's interesting, you don't think about signals being, you think of the signal corps today being computers and whatever, but back then really it was just crank telephones, wasn't it?
Exactly. And some of the units we have in Afghanistan at the moment, in their vehicles, they've pretty much got, a computer on the internet, and fantastic data and telemetry available to them, and the high level of battlefield intelligence. Some of these fellows back in those days, we just wouldn't have recognised it at all. There's, we can track enemy movements by satellite, and as we've seen in some of the televised battles recently, there's all manner of smart bombs, smart rockets, smart tanks, and today's infantryman even has a whole lot of equipment, high-tech equipment, that was just unthinkable back when these fellows were just using raw courage and bravery to get the job done.
Well, warfare's changed so much, hasn't it? I mean, back in the day, it was literally the human and a bayonet and a gun, and now, of course, you don't even have to be present. You have these unmanned drones and so forth. So things have really changed, don't you think?
It has. You wonder about the future of the Anzac Day March, really, where perhaps one day we'll have some unmanned rockets.
Drones marching.
Yes, being dragged along on a... Yeah, but look, war is a horrible business, and it's probably a great aim of the world to get rid of it entirely. And interestingly, with these vehicles, there's been some controversy over this year's march in Melbourne. A lot of the diggers have been encouraged to travel in cars or vehicles, and hence the great range of very interesting cars. The feeling is that it might be a little bit taxing, and that's why the march has been, apart from the roadworks in Swanston Street, the march has been shortened from 1.5 kilometres to about 800 metres. Although someone measured it today, and they reported back to our station that maybe it's only really 500 metres if you actually, measure the start point to the actual end point. But most people would have to walk about 800 metres.
Now, of course, the famous Rats of Tobruk, the memorial pipe and drums here representing the Rats of Tobruk. Maybe in future years they might have to just do 3 steps, and that'll be a very, very short march. More of an Anzac Day step. We're going to cross live back down to Logan Courtman, who's side of the parade route, and he's got some more diggers with him. So, Logan Courtman, over to you.
Now it's, again, an amazing time down here in Anzac Day to see so many different countries and people down here at once. Now, I've just met a new friend of mine, Mehmet. Mehmet's from Turkey, and I just noticed these
Turkish flags.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about them and what you're doing here today.
Today we got the march, for Anzac Day. We feel sorry for everyone's died, Johnny and Mehmet's army, and like Mustafa Kemal Atatürk said, I feel sorry. Stop the crying mother and father, and your Johnny sleep with the Mehmet's all together,
Yeah.
Friendly. I hope so. Not more any world to not kill anyone's.
Yeah.
To not crying mothers and fathers.
And it's tough. I mean, your grandfather lost his life in the war, and now you live here in Melbourne, Australia. So you've had an amazing experience and an amazing life.
Sure. Before it was an enemy, but now it's be friends and like family. I'm Turkish, but Australian citizen too.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it in Australia too. Nice. Nice country.
Now tell me, our Prime Minister's in Turkey right now,
Yes.
Julia Gillard.
True. Yes.
What's everyone saying?
Everyone said welcome to Prime Minister Australia, and everyone's be happy to see the Australian Prime Minister and in Turkey and Anzac Day. It's very nice.
It's a big day. It's a big day.
Big days. I think more than 10,000 people in Turkey now.
Right. That's fantastic. Yeah. Now tell me, since you've moved here to Australia, you've been able to be adopted by our country. What is it about the Australian spirit that you like? What is it about the Australian culture that you appreciate, especially in relation to the Anzacs?
We coming to Australia, and there's not many, people in there, and nobody Turkish people, and no speak English too, and it's not understand just to working and coming home, and it's coming Anzac Day times we come and enjoy it together, and it's good, to remember all the grandfathers and feel sorry for them.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We definitely do feel it. I think a lot of people get very emotional, whether it's on the march or up in the shrine. It always hits you. I think something that is important as well is the fact that they've created these sacrifices and now look at the beautiful country that we have.
Beautiful, yeah. Thank you very much for the God. Everyone's life and happy, enjoying it, everyone's. Thank you very much for you too.
No problem, no problem.
All the best.
I just grabbed you. I want you to say in Turkish. I want you to say a few words to some people in Turkey that could be watching right now.
Türkiye'ye merhaba. Bütün dünyada ölen Anzaclarda bilhassa ölen bütün askerlerin başınız sağ olsun. Rahmetle anıyoruz. Her yıl olduğu gibi. Çok teşekkürler. İyi günler. Sağ olun, var olun. Thank you very much.
No problem. My mate Mehmet, I've always had a tough time. The Australian soccer team's always had a tough time beating the Turkish soccer team. We're
the 2015 and soccer team, I think, in the Galibolo and Anzac.
We'll, yeah, it'll be fantastic. I think one of the things that I've noticed here is we've got some Indonesian people marching, some people from Vietnam, and what happens is towards the end of the march we have a whole bunch of different cultures and communities that come together. So the interesting thing is the people that are marching today and celebrating Anzac Day, they're not all Australians, true blue. We've got obviously some people here who are either immigrants who have moved here, set up a new country here, a new life, and for that they're very thankful. Also a lot of people from a whole bunch of different cultures, from Vietnam, Indonesia, Turkey, Greece, lots from Britain. So we're running around trying to grab as many interviews with them for you as we can. Before we head off to our next interview, we're going to cross to some more information brought to you by our sponsors. Thanks, Robert. You're a good man.
You good too.
Yeah?
You too. Welcome.
You a strong soccer player?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Before.
Striker.
There is an escalating food crisis in West Africa. Drought has destroyed food crops, leaving families with little or nothing to eat. CARE is strengthening community food banks, training medical staff to prevent malnutrition and helping families develop alternative food sources. Early action saves lives. Every dollar spent in emergency prevention can save 7 in emergency response. You can help. Please donate to CARE's West Africa Appeal today. Visit care.org.au or call 1800 020 046.
Welcome back to our coverage. We might just see if we can catch Logan down on the roadway and see how he's feeling down there, partially in the rain, but just the emotion and feeling of the day.
Logan, look, talk to us, Logan, about how are things going down on the course today? How's it looking down there?
Well, as you can see right now, the rain is not coming down, so the weather's been on and off, but to be honest, no one's really thinking or caring about that. Everyone's more so in work mode. So there's a whole, as you can see behind me, you've got a whole army of marshals keeping everyone organised, making sure everyone gets into the right position. All the people that are here to march are ready to march. The guys in their cars, we've got some fancy Chevrolets and some Bentleys. They're ready to take the ex-servicemen down the road, and even the army vehicles that are coming down through St Kilda Road. Everyone's just here and ready to work. It's more like they're here just to get a job done, and it's sort of similar to what was happening on Anzac Day. So the feeling down here is everyone's in work mode and just working their way up to the Shrine of Remembrance, which is over my left shoulder.
So, Logan, do you think it's there's much of a? Do you think the rain has affected turnout today, or is it still pretty popular amongst the young people?
Yeah, no, exactly. We have heard from a few of the ex-servicemen that the numbers were down a little bit, but to be honest, they were cracking jokes about it. They were saying, the rain must have kept them away, but they were always soft anyway. They're the sort of guys that that have a sense of humour and humility through any sort of adverse conditions. And we were talking to a few here, and they were saying, look, the weather today is nothing like what we experienced in Burma. So numbers are down purely, you can understand, with the age with a lot of these ex-servicemen. The weather's going to hold a few of them back. But to be honest, the spirit is exactly the same.
Now, it's pretty sobering, isn't it? You were talking to some people earlier on, and they had 2,000 people died in a torpedo attack, 2,000 of their friends, and they were the only 2 left here, so many years later. It must be pretty special to be able to talk to these amazing Australians and New Zealanders who fought for their country.
Yeah, no, it is. And to be honest, Ben, I've had a couple of tears and tear-jerking moments with the guys. It's hard. Sometimes you're talking to them and their eyes well up and your eyes well up, and then, obviously we've got to keep composed. But the main thing is that the guys that are still here today, if there wasn't this sense of togetherness and pride and spirit, and if they didn't want to show us how important it was and how much that meant, then they simply wouldn't be here, and we wouldn't know about those 2,000 people that had died. So those 2 people that were here, they obviously are making such a big impact to not only the people here on the ground watching it, the people at home. Obviously they're doing it for everyone that they've worked with and fought with. The people that lost their lives, yes, it was 2,000 of them with the one torpedo attack. But as we were talking down here to our friends, they were in the water for 6 days and still cracking jokes. So I can tell you, when you shake the hand of an ex-serviceman, it's definitely one of the most humbling experiences that you can do. Really quite honoured to be here today.
And of course we were joking earlier on that this morning when we were out filming the dawn service, of course the rain was coming down and it was 6 degrees and it was terrible, but of course that doesn't quite count as being 7 days in the water or 6 days in the water, does it? These guys really are tough.
These guys are some of the toughest soldiers and men and women that we've ever seen. I think the fact that they are getting old and getting older, they're all still very upset, even to this day, that the march has been shortened from 1.5 kilometres from Federation Square up to the shrine. Now it's only about 800 metres from the boulevard up to the shrine. So you can imagine these guys are 80 years old, And they are putting their foot down saying, no, we don't want to shorten the march. It needs to be the full length. We're going to go the full distance. So really, really tough guys. I think not only are they tough, I think their families and their friends, I think everyone around them, the sense of community is just really warm, and it's amazing to see. It's been good to see not only the ex-servicemen, the family, but some of the younger kids here as well, because we haven't seen any wartime in their eras. So it's good for them to be able to understand and see what it is and what a huge effort it was that they did for their country. To be honest, it's when you get a massive group of people here together, you get in the numbers of the tens of thousands here together, that's when you start to realise the magnitude of what they've done for us. So we're all very thankful.
And it was certainly very touching to see one of the diggers you were talking to earlier. You know, he did start tearing up when he was talking about the sacrifice that his friends made and whatever. So it really is great that even, you know, so many years after these diggers were fighting, that they still make the effort to come down and remember their fallen comrades.
Yeah, I think it's really tough for them to talk about it. You might have noticed in the coverage I haven't really been asking many questions about the war itself. I just don't want to go there. In previous experiences, and I'm sure as many people that are watching would know, when you talk to people that have been through such a traumatic time, such as a war, it is difficult to talk about it. I am touching on the subject as much as I can, but you know, to be honest, just having an interview with them and seeing some of the gentlemen start to cry and their tears well up, and these are very hard men, but just the thought of it is really upsetting. So it's been great to see that they are here today and they are still marching side by side. To be honest, the feeling down here on the street is as though nothing's changed. When they've got their medals on, you know, all their old partners are together. It's this sense of, you know, we are here fighting, we are walking side by side as one, as a country and a nation, and so it's great to actually be down here on the street level, bringing you some of this coverage.
Well, you're doing a great job down there. Make sure you keep it up. We look forward to hearing some more from you, and we'll continue with some images from the parade.
Yeah, great, Ben. Thanks for looking after us in the studio there. Anything you need in the studio, let me know.
Logan, well done. So here we are back at the parade coverage, and who have we got coming up? We can see some of the vintage cars there. Of course, that's the 2nd 4th Field Squadron, and you can see that the diggers this year are spending a lot more time in the cars because these gentlemen are getting on, aren't they? They're really getting on. And we are looking down from the Shrine of Remembrance, and we can see down the St Kilda Road as well. So, as we've been saying, it is only a shorter route this year.
This is one of the many school or community bands that take part in the parade. Some years the bands have doubled back and made 2 trips. That's the band, I think, from the Mornington City. I think that's the Mornington City band, just from looking at it. Bit hard to tell with their rain coats on, although it's nice that they've got transparent ones and we can see the uniforms underneath. Largely what we're looking at now is infantry. And one of the things that struck me earlier watching some of the banners was, I mean, the infantry are in for a pretty torrid time usually.
Yeah, they are.
But there's others too, and one name that strikes me is Balikpapan, probably because it's a slightly unusual name, but we've seen going through infantry from that had battle honours at Balikpapan, but we've seen artillery, we've seen machine gun, we've seen Army Service Corps, which are the trucks and supplies. And what it makes you reflect is, in the case of Balikpapan, but only as an example, that some of these operations involved not just infantry, not just the blokes with the Lee Enfield 303s, but huge organisational empires of supply and acquisition of ammunition and so on.
And a huge number of people too.
Huge number of people, some in harm's way on the front line. Some of the field ambulance positions were very tricky, and we spoke already about the signal guys. But for example, the Army Service Corps, I know one of their main priorities was to get through the mail. so that ammunition, food and mail were their three priorities, and the mail just to keep up the morale of the people in the front line.
Well, look, we do have, you were talking about marching bands before. We do have Logan down on the field with a marching band. Logan, tell us, what can you see down there?
Well, it's fantastic. Over my left shoulder, there are a number of marching bands. We have a marching band in the red uniform waiting on the left, and coming through in the navy blue, we have the Australian Army team from Vietnam. Probably in numbers, probably about 60 in the Army Staff Band. So I'm going to throw over, and you can listen to some of the music.
And of course, the Salvation Army has played a very important part over the years with supporting the soldiers and being there to support the families.
Absolutely. And one of the most famous, I think, was a fellow Brigadier Arthur McElveen, later Sir Arthur McElveen, who was Padre Mac at Tobruk, and was quite famous for going around the men and providing comfort words of reassurance. But he also had apparently a wind-up portable record player, and this was considered very special by the men who might have been stuck in their trench or their machine gun position or wherever they were, and this Salvation Army fellow, Padre Mac, would come round and he always had a cup of tea for them, and he'd play a bit of music and so on, which I imagine they wouldn't have heard too often in Tobruk. But he was only one of many, many Salvation Army officers who were out there not taking part in the actual conflict because of many times matters of conscience, but lending support and comfort and helping where they can, and that's I think a magnificent effort from the Salvation Army, and I know it's one that keeps them high in our hearts even today.
And we've got Logan. We've got Logan down on the field there. Logan, what's it like being in amongst it all?
Look, to be honest, it's great down here. I think a lot of the people that are marching down here are smiling and waving to us. And how are you going? You having a good day?
Have a good day.
How does it feel?
Ah, beautiful. Wet.
And there's a big difference. Obviously, we have some very strict rules around what we can do with the current servicemen in the Army and Navy and the Air Force. They're not allowed to talk to any media whatsoever. A number of them are actually holding weapons such as swords and guns. So they're the gentlemen that we definitely, the gentlemen and ladies that we definitely can't talk to. They can't do any media interviews. But as the rest of the contingent come down, it's fantastic because they're smiling, even though it is the remembrance of such tough times in war. As you just saw, everyone's having a great time down here. When the marching bands come down, it's great. I think a lot of the young kids and the children really love that. It really sort of gives them something to look at, and I think with the addition of the music and the marching bands, the kids really get a sense of this being something special. A lot of the people that have congregated over the left here now, they've come from other areas of the march. So the good thing about St Kilda Road is there's plenty of vantage points to come down and see everyone that's marching. Behind me we've got the Presbyterian Ladies College doing a fantastic job. I'll let you listen to some of the music. So some fantastic talent, obviously much more talented than we are at playing the bagpipes and the drums. But again, well done, gentlemen. A little wink from the gentleman there, just to know that they've got your back. So it's fantastic. The guys that are marching down here, I mean, this just goes on and on, all the way back up to Fed Square and through the top of Fed Square. G'day, how you going? Very well, how are you? Good. So as you can see, all the way back up through Fed Square and back up to Town Hall, there's just rows and rows of dignified Australians that are here commemorating Anzac Day.
Young people
Yeah, I guess in terms of the cross section of the crowd and the audience, you've got a lot of people that have come here with their friends and family. G'day. How are you? G'day. You've got a lot of people that have come down here that have relatives that have fought. But in terms of the crowd, the general crowd, I can see a whole bunch of uni students over here. I can see an amazing bunch of people who are middle-aged with young kids. So it's a real sort of family day. And they're here clapping and having a great time. I don't think the weather's got to them at all. In terms of the crowds, the people that are here and are watching, it's just a really diverse mix, and it's good to see. It's quite surprising, actually.
The weather, has the weather sort of calmed down a bit? Because it's been pretty wild and woolly throughout the event, hasn't it?
Yeah, I was just having a quick look at the clouds then. We can actually see some blue sky, so things are clearing up. A lot of the people that are here today obviously brought their umbrellas, but I don't think we need them for the rest of the day. Fingers crossed anyway. It's really clearing up, and I think from such a chilly start as we saw at the dawn service, and then when we started the parade here at 9 in the morning, when it was about 9 degrees and wet. Even though it's probably 1 or 2 degrees warmer now, it's quite toasty and warm. So it's I think everyone's in amazing spirits now. I think the downpour earlier on in the morning was actually a good thing. It just toughened everyone up a little bit.
Now, I would like to ask you just use the words toasty and warm. We can see the breath coming out of your mouth, so I'm not quite sure it's toasty and warm.
Yeah, again, in comparison to the 7 degrees and the sideways rain that we had, it is toasty and warm. And I'll tell you what, I'll go and ask some of our mates down here what they think. I'm probably going to have to just ask for permission first. G'day guys, is it alright if we have a quick talk? Now we're just having a bit of a conversation about the day. Absolutely perfect weather, isn't it?
4 seasons, we've had 1 season today. We're hoping we'll get some more summer or something. But it's all right. The rain's holding off for the march. It was very, very wet for the dawn service, but it's not too bad.
Right, now talk to me about the day. It's great down here on St Kilda Road.
It is. It's a wonderful day. It's a good day for both sides, for the return servicemen and also for the people that are here to honour us today. We really appreciate it. Come and see us march.
And just some of the messages we're live streaming out to the world. So some of the messages for people around the world that couldn't be here, and also some of the younger generation that are tuning in and watching this live over the internet. What are your thoughts about the spirit and the pride that the Australian ex-servicemen have shown?
Well, we're very proud to have so many people here watching us, and I just say to those that are watching it and haven't made it this year, if you can come along next year, because it is a wonderful, wonderful day.
It is absolutely fantastic.
And it's not to honour us, it's to honour the ones that haven't come home.
Yep, fantastic. I'll let you, head back in there into your march. Thanks, and I hope you have a great walk up there to the Shrine of Remembrance.
Thank you very much.
Great. So from what I can see, guys, everyone's still in great spirits. The marching band have just stopped behind us with the bagpipes, but it's fantastic. You don't get a chance to see this, as we just heard, should really come down here and witness it for yourself. It's kind of hard to explain through the screen, but it's goosebumps sort of stuff.
Now, just before we let you go, word has come from our executive producer. The reason you might be toasty warm is apparently you might have some thermal underwear on. Do you want to just tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, there was a little memo that went out a little bit earlier today that it was going to be quite cold. So what I did is I took my flannelette shirt and got some Stanley scissors and chopped the collar off so that I would look professional but keep warm. So.
Of ingenuity that Australians have been known for in the field of battle, so you'd be a great soldier.
Yeah, look, that's just 1/10 of what we've done for you guys today. But in terms of getting the job done, everyone's here to get the job done. We're all committed, rain, hail or shine, and I think that's the real message that's come out of today. It's a fantastic thing we have. It's a great country, and the people here are 90% of what make it. So. All of the great people that will go to war for you and that do have your back and do it for you. I dare say the vast majority of them are actually down here today.
Well, look, thanks very much for that. We'll let you go and get some more interviews, and we'll cross back to the live parade coverage.
Thanks, Ben.
So as we can see here, we've got more people marching up to the Shrine of Remembrance today. Talk to us about, John, the minute's silence. What's the idea behind a minute's silence?
It's an important part of many Anzac Day services. The idea was first suggested by an Australian journalist, not actually a military fellow, Edward Honey. He wrote a letter to the Times in 1919, in May, I think, and he just thought it was a good tribute to those who'd passed on, and I think the feeling of the time was that that was a great idea, and it was incorporated fairly quickly after 1919 when he wrote the letter, and has been a part of not only every Anzac Day dawn service. You can't have a minute's silence, obviously, during the march, but in the dawn service it's always been part. And also on the November 11 Armistice Day.
11-11-11?
Yes, the 11 o'clock on the 11th day of the 11th month. That's a minute's silence, and it's a fitting way, I think, to just take a second or a minute and reflect on the sacrifices of those who didn't come home from a lot of these conflicts.
And it is an enormous sacrifice as well. I mean, it's easy these days to forget about how horrendous the conditions were, not just for the First World War people, but also for Second World War. I mean, and the Vietnam War. Conditions would be horrendous. You can't even imagine it these days.
No, you can't. And a lot of the muddy trenches in the First World War were just, you see photographs of them, and it's just they're just unbelievable. There's no trees standing there; everything's been bombed out by artillery, and there's people wallowing around in mud, in boots that today you wouldn't wear up Kilimanjaro, let alone have months and months of conflict in them.
No, look, exactly. The Air Force is now starting. They're coming up on the march, and we can see there some of the little mascots, the koala and the kangaroo. As we said before, normally by tradition and historically, the Navy starts these marches, followed by the Army, and now the Air Force. And this is the leader of the Air Force group tapping away. This is a great day for the diggers as well, isn't it? They really enjoy Anzac Day, not just the marches, but also the two-up and the other celebrations that recognise their contribution and their sacrifice.
Yes, and I think it's a compelling day for a lot of service people who perhaps don't live near one another. Great
day to get together.
It's a great get together, and you know that there won't only be people from your own regiment, but from others and so on. And I think, were there no Anzac Day, were it just for different people to organise get-togethers, it'd be about as disorganised as a lot of school reunions, which start out for a while and then peter off and then come back. But I think this is a great occasion, and it's a wonderful excuse for people to come together. The two-up, I think, is more about friendship and camaraderie than actually winning money.
Yep, I agree.
And I believe there'll be some refreshing drinks served to some of the diggers, although many of them, I think, may be the sort of health that they have to watch what they drink. But some of the younger people might make up for that, and it's usually what is a commemoration.
I should just interrupt you. We are
turns into a celebration.
We're looking at the Women's Australian Auxiliary Air Force here, and just before them, the nursing service. Before that, and look, don't the women do a great job? Look at them here, the Women's Australian Auxiliary Air Force. They really made a great contribution.
They did, and in fact, one of the great things, if you can say great, about the Second World War in particular, is that the roles of women were changed forever. In that they were driving cars, they were delivering aircraft, sometimes great distances. Yep. They were certainly working in armaments and in factories and so on, and doing many jobs that up until then had been considered either not feminine or not suitable, and I think sometimes the male-dominated unions didn't want the women in there. But after the war, with quite a distinct fewer men, and the women's contribution, I think it changed the role of women for the better, and that's one good thing that came out. And I think some of the diggers as well, they might find that they've been away to war, they've had experiences and learnt things, and not just by the fighting but by visiting other countries, and they've come back and they've had a different desire for their life's work or a different desire for how they want to live. And I think worldwide that was a massive change that sometimes isn't reflected enough, I think.
And we're talking about signals bits before, and this is a great shot too. I mean, isn't it great that the men in their 80s and their 90s are coming out and still marching?
It is. You might think that they wouldn't even be bothered, but because it is, I'm sure, a great effort. We don't know where they've come from. They may have travelled quite a distance to be here just today, but it is a great effort, and it shows some of that
now
doggedness.
The first group that is represented here in the RAAF Europe and Middle East is the Catalina Club, which we can only assume is there we go. There's the 10th Squadron there with the flying boats. You know,
exactly,
you certainly haven't seen those in a long time.
Wonderful aircraft, weren't they? I think they flew from Sydney to
from Rose Bay in Sydney, wasn't it?
From Rose Bay, that's right. Was it Nemea or?
Yeah, I think there was like Darwin, and then at the first there was a number of stops on the way there, and you can see on that banner the flying boats. That's the 461st Squadron.
Yes, the flying boats were active right through the Pacific, and particularly around Darwin, but also in the Atlantic as well. And they had different roles. They were submarine killers, so-called, and also very very important in search and rescue.
Yeah, I think you can see there. That's the Lancaster, the famous aircraft, the Lancasters, you know, dam busters and so forth.
Yes, one of the smaller of the big bombers, the Lancaster.
463rd and 467 Squadrons. We were talking earlier about the poppies and the rosemary there. And you can see that Digger is wearing his own medals, and also the poppy and the rosemary. We are looking at the RAAF at the moment. As we said, they sort of really lead up the rear of the three main of the defence forces. We still have the Vietnam guys to go.
Yes,
fantastic. Look, I do think we need to cross to Logan, and Logan is ready to go with a band down there. Logan, who are you with at the moment?
Now we're down here with. I couldn't tell you, to be honest. I've only just met the young gentleman here. Tell us a little bit about your band.
We're the City of Melbourne Highland Pipe Band. We're the oldest pipe band in Australia, formed in 1898, and so we enjoy doing the Anzac Day March every year.
It's a pretty impressive claim to fame there. I think it's a huge honour to have you down here. I think the music makes such a big difference to the march, doesn't it?
It's very stirring, the music, and it gets, I think, everyone's the hairs on everyone's neck raising, and it's just a magnificent sound to be able to play.
So in total, how many people do you have here in the band?
In the band here at the moment, we've got a smaller section of our core here. We've only got probably about 2/3 of our band, but in total we've probably got about 40 playing members of our band, pipers and drummers all together.
Yeah, fantastic. So I'll just walk through and just give you a quick look at what we've got here. So a couple of lines of the bags here. So I hope you're all keeping very warm. You keeping warm?
Trying.
Trying. Now I had a little practice on the bags earlier. It wasn't very successful. It's a very difficult instrument, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite hard, but once you get the hang of it, it's alright. Yeah.
Great. Now, is there a bit of debate as to who has the most difficult job in the band? Who? Let's be honest. Who has the most difficult job in the band?
The gentleman you interviewed up there before. He's the one who's got to keep us all underhand.
Yep.
And that's what he's got the difficult job.
Fantastic. Now, I see you've got this what looks like a microphone.
Yes. Well, it's a little bit bigger than the one you're holding.
That's correct.
But it's got no wires coming out of the end of it.
That's correct. So, tell me about this this big drum that you've got here.
A lot of people think it's the heaviest drum in the band, but it's not. It's the lightest one.
Right.
We have the side drums right at the back there. They're the heaviest of the lot.
Yep.
And the tenor drums behind me.
Yep.
And they're the second heaviest. So these are very light. They pull a lot on your back when you put them up, but they are a very good drum.
So, I mean, in terms of how many kilos this would weigh, it looks like it'd weigh over 10 kilos.
No, it wouldn't be that much. It'd be lucky to probably be 2-3 kilos.
So you've got the easy job.
Well, yes, I suppose I have.
What's your role in terms of keeping everyone in time? Are you the?
Well, I've got myself and this woman over here.
Yep.
Janet. We've got to keep the beat. So we've got to with the beat, with the bang. It's the left foot, and then the right foot. So it's left, right. Left, right. We've got to keep the beat.
Fantastic. Yeah.
So the pipers have got to listen to us, and the drummers have got to listen to us.
Okay, great.
So probably we could be one of the important people.
Well, I would like to think so. How do you communicate with the gentleman at the front?
When we come in the end of a bracket, he'll turn his head around.
Yep.
And then we'll give a.
Okay.
And that will notify that the pipers are coming to the end, and they'll cut off. But the drums will still keep on playing.
Okay, fantastic. So you're all in tune. You've done this plenty of times before. It sounds awesome.
I've done this plenty of times. Yes.
Yeah, fantastic. Yes. So do you all look forward to Anzac Day, because it's a massive day?
Yeah, well, it's my first Anzac Day, so it's been a bit of a memorable one. Got a bit wet this morning at the dawn service, so yeah, but it's been a lot of fun already.
So how did you turn around your outfit? It's not still.
It's so cute.
It is okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it poured during the dawn service, and it's just wet all the way through. So we're all really cold, but having fun.
That's okay. So your first dawn service here now, having an interview on TV. This isn't too bad. Yeah. Tell me about this little guy here.
This is called the tenor drum,
right.
And
different to the bigger drum there. So there's how many different sorts of drums do we have?
There's the bass drum and the tenor drum, and then there's the snare drums behind us.
Yep.
And we hit the drum, and we also with our mallets, and we also flourish in between. So we do lots of
Now this flourishing thing, that has a traditional significance?
Well, there's lots of different flourishes. So there's easier flourishes and harder flourishes, and and so we just, depending on what beats we play on the drum, there's different flourishes that go to different beats.
Okay, fantastic. Now I might chat to the gentleman up the front here and see if we can get a quick little demonstration, just a very quick one.
Okay.
What channel were you working?
Now we're actually live streaming out to the world. So if you've got some people,
though.
So who do we have? We have a few people we want to say hi to.
Hi, Mum.
You want to say hi? Now, can I just quickly just get a little example of the flourishing? See, now you all at home know what it means and how to describe it when they swing the things around. It's called flourishing. But we all knew that already, didn't we? Now, I'm just going to chat to the boss here and see if we can jump in and jump the queue and see if we can get a little quick demonstration going before we jump to a little break. Now, are we breaking any sort of unwritten rules by doing a quick little...
As a band?
Yeah.
We can do a quick tune.
That would... short and sweet would be awesome. Yep. It'd be fantastic.
All right,
yeah, if you
we'll
can count
do
us
that.
in,
yep,
that'd be
sure.
fantastic. Now, just again, tell us about the band for people out there that might want to join.
The City Melbourne Pipe Band, we practice right in the CBD. We are always looking for learners, both pipers, drummers, either snare drum or tenor drum, and we are really one of the up-and-coming bands in the area, and we are looking forward to enjoying future success.
Definitely. If your rock band's not going very well, a few of you drummers out there might be scratching your head out the back of the band, come and see the guys here.
It does wonders for your kit drumming. We've had a few kit drummers come through here, and they're much improved after they leave.
Fantastic. All right, now I'm gonna get in a position and just let the gentleman here take it away.
Right. So I'll play first part of Scotland the Brave and cut out. So we don't have. Oh, that's fine. All right. So 2 rolls. First part of Scotland the Brave. Cease play. Band. Ready? At the halt. Quick. Bar.
City of Melbourne Highland Pipe Band. A big round of applause. We're going to cut to some more footage from the Anzac Day Parade. Thank you very much again.
Our pleasure.
That's absolutely awesome. Thanks again.
Well done there, Logan. Thank you very much. Looking good down there with the pipe drum band. So we're still with the Air Force, John. We've got the 18th Squadron here.
We are with the Air Force. We've got quite a big contingent of Air Force.
It's a big thing. It's a big force.
I don't know if that's because some of these planes had such big crews, but of course if one went down, there were fairly big losses. Just in terms of the order of the parade, it's interesting that the Navy leads off because they're considered the senior service.
Oh, really?
And the Air Force are kind of like the juniors in a way. But at the end of the parade, sorry, I shouldn't say at the end, but just before the end, the last marches coming through will be the Brits and the Gurkhas, Ceylonese, Indian veterans, South Africa veterans, and then a whole lot of allies.
It's not just Australians or New Zealanders who march, really, is it? It's really to celebrate the armed forces worldwide.
Yes, huge numbers of them. Personally, I don't know if it's correct to have all our allies at the back. It sort of puts them in a position that
relegates them.
Relegates them a little bit, but that's just part, I think, of the order of the parade.
Now, with more Catalinas there, we were talking about the Catalinas, and you can see they say bombing, mine laying, air, sea rescue and reconnaissance. Those Catalinas were great boats. But what I was going to say was that the Second World War in particular really, and I guess the First World War was the start of flying. They originally had planes that did basic reconnaissance, but the Second World War did an enormous amount for aviation in Australia. They built lots of airfields. Lots of training airfields and lots of, it really set up a lot of infrastructure here in Australia.
It did, and some of those airfields are still in use today by flying clubs and, for fixed wing and helicopters and even gliders and so on. And one thing the military does is when they build something, they build it pretty good. A lot of those airstrips they built sort of, 6 feet deep on the runway to cater for some of the heavy bombers that they anticipated might need to land there, and I think it's probably good that those airfields are still in place, although many in small country towns and they don't get much traffic, but they're still standing and they're still pretty solid.
Yeah, they certainly are. Look, we're going to cross down very quickly to Logan again, who is down with some, it looks like some of the younger guests here at the Anzac Day March in 2012 in Melbourne. Logan, who are you there with?
That's right, Ben. I'm actually down here trying to make some new friends because I obviously don't have that many. But so far, so good. Did you see us playing there with the band? Yeah. Are you here to see the band or the marching guys?
The marching guys. And
what are they called?
See the band and the marching guys.
Yeah.
What are the marching guys called?
War people.
War veterans.
The war veterans. So, as you can see down here in St Kilda, the kids are still out, even though it has been raining. Everyone's having a good day. Do you like the rain?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Yeah. So tell us about today and coming down. You're here to see some people.
It's really significant, and I have to include these people behind us.
Yep.
We actually met in Turkey 9 years ago, and we met in Gallipoli Cove. And we catch up every single year for Anzac Day all around Australia. We never were married or with kids when we first met, and we keep it a tradition. It's really important to us to remember all these amazing people. So
well, that's a fantastic way to do it. So do you always do it in Melbourne or?
No, different locations. We've done Queensland, Melbourne, Canberra, Daylesford, so we get around.
You know more about Anzac Day than a lot of people in Australia in terms
I
of
think it's important.
The celebrations. What are some of the memorable times you've had in the different cities on Anzac Day?
Oh, nothing would beat Lone Pine in Turkey. That was just absolutely amazing, and the speeches that were given that year just really, I guess, brought it forward for us. But it doesn't matter where you are, it's what it's about, and it's watching the people, and coming out in the rain is a small sacrifice to make for what they do for us.
Yeah, so. Fantastic. Tell us about what it was like over there in Turkey.
It was a very sombre day, very strange, surreal environment. We were very quiet, which is not like us as a group, but there was a lot to take in, and it was just something every Australian should do. So, amazing.
night and watched it on TV.
Did
You got up early this morning.
And then I couldn't get back to bed, so I had to come out with Harry and Tom, and it was 6 o'clock in the morning.
So did you get any sleep at all?
No.
No. And now you're eating space food sticks.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So okay.
So it's worth it?
Are you gonna get some sleep tonight?
Yeah.
We hope so.
We hope so. I guess the idea is here is coming together and commemorating our ex-servicemen. But as you can see, some great friendships can be formed along the way. I don't know if these young kids are going to end up playing in the band one day.
No, but they'll carry on the tradition.
No?
Whether they like it or not.
I think we've got maybe a drummer down here. Would you like to play that? Would you like Mum to get you a set of drums?
I want to get my dad to buy me a plane.
A plane. Okay.
Not the band in the
Okay.
Air Force.
Okay, a warplane. So that's fine. We can organise something with the Air Force, definitely. So, Dad, how's that second job coming along?
We'll get there eventually.
We'll get there. We'll start us all. Maybe we'll start with the toy plane first. But again, I think it's a really amazing story that you guys have just shared with us. So really fantastic.
Good. Thank you for letting us share it.
No worries. So thanks very much, kids. High five. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. There we go. Back to you.
Well, it's great to see some of the young ones here at the Anzac Day March, John.
Indeed, and a pretty keen family, that family, it seems, if they've been to so many places.
They are, and it's good to see them carrying on that tradition. We can see here the RWF continues, and this is the Fighter Squadrons branch. Now, I have to say that if I was going to be in the Air Force, I'd want to be in the Fighter Squadrons branch.
Yes, I think we'd all like that. They have some restrictions as to height and weight and fitness and so on. Which
and attractiveness, I think. You have to be good looking to be a fighter pilot, don't you?
I'm sure that either comes with the territory or they pre-select. But it's interesting, the fighter planes, how they've developed, and indeed all of aerial warfare. I think in the First World War, weren't they throwing little bombs or hand grenades or something out of the
by
planes?
hand?
Yeah, yeah.
They literally were. They were literally throwing them out by hand. And as I said before, aircraft in the First World War really hadn't taken off, pardon the pun. And they really were just, I believe it was the British who said that they'll never amount to anything in warfare.
Exactly, yes.
And of course today, really, most warfare is, if you own the skies, then you're winning the battle. That's what they say.
Yes, there's so many, even today, no-fly zones in the world.
I'm fairly sure I'm on some kind of a no-fly list, if that's the same kind of thing.
Yes, that's a matter for the courts, really. Yeah.
We can see here, the Methers Ladies College Band, we were just saying before that Anzac Day is a great opportunity for schools to get their bands involved, and it's also a really good PR opportunity within the schools, isn't it, for the armed forces to keep the sacrifices that have been made fairly visible to the young ones. So Anzac Day is great for that.
Oh yeah, I think marching in the parade's a great reward for however many rehearsals the band's been doing.
Absolutely.
But look, I was thinking about the First World War planes. Now I know that you have a pilot's license, but you fly slightly unusual things, don't you? That don't really don't fly right.
I do have to say though that helicopters are a very integral part of warfare these days. And of course, you've got the Apaches and the Tigers and the Chinooks and the, all of the Black Hawks, of course. Although they're having a few problems with those at the moment, so I think they've grounded them all. Both
attack helicopters and the fighter planes and even bombers, they're so heavy now with the weapons systems and the computers and so on. That's really what the pilots have to learn more than how to fly.
Well, they always fly themselves now. But certainly back in the day here, when you look at a lot of these RWF veterans who are marching today, it really was fly by the seat of your pants. It was all, this is the hydraulics corps that we're looking at the moment. And, really the logistics behind it, I think you got about 2 weeks training. Back in the Second World War, you're not 16, of course, you're 18, you were put into an aircraft, you learn how to fly and you were sent off. So a lot of pilots came back from the Second World War who didn't think they were going to be pilots to start with.
Exactly. And the aircraft of the First World War...
Oh, we're talking about training schools now. Look at that.
There you go.
How helpful. And you can see there they talked about the support units, the dental, the medical, the recruiting. People underestimate the enormous support that you were talking about that before, weren't you?
Yes, and the training on that banner was for so many things, the wireless and the flight services and that sort of thing. But the fellows in those biplanes in the First World War, a couple of technical things about those aircraft. First of all, they had no fuel pump.
Really?
The fuel was gravity fed from the top wing, which meant flying upside down was something you only did for very short periods of time.
Right.
And they also had no starter motor, which is why you see in the pictures the man turning the prop, which meant if you're in a dogfight and you weren't careful, you could easily starve your engine of fuel.
And you can't restart. That's
and you
for
can't
sure.
restart it.
Can't jump out.
So, depending on what height that happens, you either jump out or just...
That was it. Really, the Red Baron had another mark on his on side of his plane.
Exactly.
Now, this isn't a very veteran car, the Mustang, but certainly our friends from the RAAF association there will be loving that, I would say. Going for a bit of a spin. And you really forget about the conditions that these men and women must have experienced, and it's hard today in 2012 to understand what it must have been like. I mean, even back in Vietnam, it's just a whole different game, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Some of the bombers in the Second World War, and I think, I'm not sure today if that's the case, but they didn't waste weight putting on, heating and any sort of insulation. And those crews were up high, freezing, absolutely freezing, with the windows open so they could push their machine guns out. And some of those flights must have been just absolutely numbingly uncomfortable.
Well, in the First World War, there was a major advance in, as you said, they literally used to have machine guns poking out the wall, out the side, out the windows, and now... And then they came up with the innovation of having it timed, didn't they? Where they could fire forward through the propellers instead of you having to go out the side. So that was a huge advance, and I think it shocked the enemy greatly, didn't it? That suddenly they were planes flying at them, they could fire machine guns.
Yes, you could aim the plane, not just the gun. The firing mechanism of the gun was interlocked with the engine of the plane, and a lot of those planes had rotary engines, which means that we can picture a V8 today with 8 cylinders in the form of a V. The rotary engines, they're just like a clock. They have cylinders all over the place. Very powerful engine, but a real difficult thing to keep.
I'm just looking at the Scotch College Military Band here. There's not much playing, but there's a bit of marching going on with them, which is great. And of course the post-1945 Defence Force service. So they're the people post-Second World War. We do have Logan down on the course with us again, looking at some of our marching diggers. Logan, what have you got for us down there?
Well, again, the generosity's just been massive today. We've just had a gentleman running around and handing out some rosemary. This has kindly been donated from the Glenelg Rosemary Farm. And just some spectacular marching bands, all in perfect time. And it's just great to see them leading the diggers down here in St Kilda. It's really something to see.
Now, Logan, did you know that rosemary actually grows in Gallipoli? That's the reason why rosemary is worn on Anzac Day. Did you know that?
I did not know that, Ben. If I said yes, I would obviously be lying. But maybe someone else that didn't know that was the case is a couple of friends that I've just found and managed to bump into. Hello, how are you?
Fine, and you?
Very well. These are my new friends from Estonia.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to pose you a quick question. Do you know the significance of this?
Of this flower?
Yeah.
Actually, we just came to find out, so maybe you can explain us. But we know about Anzac Day, but we don't know meaning of this flower.
Okay, so So, Ben, I'm not the only one that isn't completely up to date with the knowledge here, but no, obviously the poppy flower signifies the blood, and yes, as you correctly pointed out, the rosemary does actually grow over there in Turkey, so that's the significance of it. So, I guess you're pretty happy. Did you get one? Yeah, you've got one as well. So, yeah, you should pop one on there. What do you think about Anzac Day? It's quite special.
Yeah, it is. We just came to here, so we are going to find out everything about it.
We have a really cool parade. It's really big.
What do you think about the marching bands?
Oh, they're really good. They're really good.
And how do you celebrate in Estonia? Do you have anything similar to this?
Yeah, we do. Estonia has been to a lot of wars. First World War and Second World War, and we have a parade on Independence Day. It's a very big one with the army and people. Okay, fantastic. So,
again, you are definitely missing out if you're not down here at the parade in St Kilda. More marching bands are coming through, but we're going to throw to some more coverage brought to you by our sponsors. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
There is an escalating food crisis in West Africa. Drought has destroyed food crops, leaving families with little or nothing to eat. CARE is strengthening community food banks, training medical staff to prevent malnutrition and helping families develop alternative food sources. Early action saves lives. Every dollar spent in emergency prevention can save 7 in emergency response. You can help. Please donate to CARE's West Africa Appeal today. Visit care.org.au or call 1800 020 046.
There's a whole new way to create the best tasting fries without the oil, just with air. Introducing the Philips Air Fryer. For fabulous fries, just add air.
Lily didn't have much to smile about. 50% of the children in her community were malnourished, and diseases like diarrhoea, one of the biggest killers of children in poor communities, were common because of untreated water. And with her parents' income barely enough to cover basic needs, Lily was facing a future of sickness and basic survival. Thankfully, through Plan, Lily is now a sponsored child. $43 a month is making all the difference to Lily's future. Lily and her entire community now have a plan that has started their journey out of poverty. A new preschool building, new toilets, clean water and better hygiene. A plan that has changed the direction of Lily's life. Now, Lily says she hopes to become a teacher. With your help, $43 a month, a child just like Lily will have a plan for a better future too. Call 137526, go online or search for Lily's plan. And for $43 a month, you can see a child like Lily smile.
Well, look, this is fantastic. We're, of course, broadcasting to you live today from the 2012 Anzac Day March here in beautiful, sunny Melbourne. So thanks for joining us, everybody, online, around the world, and thanks to our sponsors for bringing this broadcast to you free of charge all the way from Melbourne at Anzac Day. Now, we're seeing the signals from Vietnam. We're into the Vietnam diggers here, and it wasn't a popular war.
No, that's a bit of an understatement. It was not a popular war. And it seemed to drag on an awfully long time without being political about it. But there was a time, I think, some of these fellows came back from Vietnam and they felt a bit underappreciated.
Which is just terrible. I mean, you go to serve your country and fight your war and, you know, it doesn't matter whether it's politically approved or not. They just did their job.
Yes, it was a bit
and were drafted, weren't they? There was draft.
They were, many of them, and a bit of a shameful episode, I think, but some of the jobs they did, they were tunnel rats. A lot of the war was actually underground, and they actually built tunnels and went and dragged people out of tunnels. Pretty nasty stuff.
The Royal Australian Regiment Association. And you can see here Japan, Malay, Vietnam, Cambodia, Timor, Malaysia, Afghanistan, Singapore. It really is, you know, they're all over the place. And some of the areas these people have served is really unbelievable. We've got, of course, this gentleman here is marching out the front. Although we're not sure quite why he's got his umbrella held like that. It is a fantastic day to be able to recognise and celebrate, I guess, the sacrifice. If celebrate's the word, the sacrifice that's been made by these diggers. And of course, here are our friends from the City of Melbourne band who played for us a little earlier on. You know, I wonder, you know, do they have a cupboard full of those uniforms where you just join the band and you pop out in this amazingly heavily woven wool and John, you raised an interesting point before, you know, what they have under their kilts, especially those girls.
Well, exactly. I wish Logan had asked that, but he's probably a bit modest to
he's a bit too well behaved for that, isn't he? Now, we were talking about the medals before, and we can see that there's the medals are worn on the above the heart if you earned the medals, and if you're wearing them on behalf of a family member, they're on the right-hand side. Is that correct?
Yes. And the medals tend to be in order as well. So the most important or the highest ranking medal is, I'm trying to think how to explain it, is towards the centre of the chest, and they go out then. So many medals are for bravery, some are for service medals. So people who served in a number of theatres, as they call it, might have a couple of different medals. They might have a Europe medal and a Pacific medal and so on. And there is a Vietnam medal, there is a World War II medal, World War I medal, and so on. So,
well, if you get medals for going to the theatre, maybe I should have one for seeing Mamma Mia, because that, you know, I think I deserved a medal for sitting through that.
It depends what night you went.
And we've got the Vietnam vets here, as you can see. And look, I remember it was only a couple of years ago, we still had a First World War vet in the march, which was amazing. I think it was 100 and whatever it was. But Now, of course, there's none of the Great War diggers left. Here we have the 5th Battalion of the Royal Australian Regiment Association. And of course, the crowds have still been pretty strong out there, considering the weather. We've got some quite heavily decorated people marching today.
Fairly mixed group by the look of it. A couple of relatives, but I saw a couple of berets there, which I think usually indicate commandos.
And it's interesting as well, I'm not sure we're seeing, there's a blue dog. There he is, Bluey. I'm not sure we're seeing many current members of these various battalions and brigades and things. What happens if you're a serving member at the moment? Are you encouraged to march in the parades, or?
I believe so. If your regiment is marching, you're encouraged to march with them.
Okay. And we've got the 7th Battalion of the Royal Australian Regiment Association there.
But generally, there has been another change too. The RSL, which was the Returned Servicemen's League, was a little bit slow to recognise servicemen who may have served but perhaps didn't go overseas. There was a large contingent of service people in Australia looking after training and supplies and all that sort of thing. And there was a little while that the Returned Services League, the RSL, didn't really give them the recognition they felt they deserved. And it was a slightly similar case with the Vietnam Fellows, that there were people who went to Vietnam and there were regular army and conscripts who didn't go to Vietnam. But I think those divisions have been blurred, the scars have healed, and I think we can see from the faces it's it's a pretty friendly turnout.
And I think there was originally there was some kind of discussion that you had to be from the First or Second World War to be really acknowledged by the RSL, but that, as you said, that sort of is not so much the case anymore.
Yes, that's true, and there seems still to be a little bit of playing around with the definition of war versus police action versus peacekeeping and so on. And I think really these are political words that we should just let people who've been in those actions, and certainly any Australian representing their country under fire,
definitely
certainly be entitled to march in these parades.
Now, Logan seems slightly obsessed with bags, and I believe he's got another bagpiper with him now. Logan, talk to us about what's happening down there on the parade ground. Now, of course, we did have a bit of a small technical problem there with our cross to Logan with the bagpiper. Let's see, what have we got going on there? South Vietnam, John, 1965.
The 65 to 72. The range of that war. We're just fixing Logan's technical problem down there. Some of these people have been waiting a long time to march. The march started off at 9 o'clock, and those people would have been waiting not too long. But we're now 11:30 or something, whatever time it is. I haven't got a watch in front of me, but a lot of these people would have come along a bit later today to marshal, line up and march. Some would have been there from early. The ones who went to the dawn service would have been waiting quite a long time, because that finished before the march started, and some of them might have had what's called the gunfire breakfast. Gunfire was a British term which they referred to the first cup of tea given to troops before the first task of the day. So their day was, you get up, you have a cup of tea, and that was referred to as gunfire. It seems to me slightly black humour. But gunfire breakfast has taken off, and there would have been a gunfire breakfast at most of the dawn services today. And it's put on by the organisers or hosts. It includes coffee or tea, sometimes coffee or tea with rum, usually a sausage sizzle or bacon and eggs. And it's really quite a friendly occasion, I think, for many of these blokes. Now, some of these fellas would have been at the dawn service, would have had their gunfire breakfast, and this particular contingent would have had to wait around for another couple of hours, 2 to 3 hours, and now they've got the chance to march up the 800-metre course. We should soon be seeing, I'm just not sure who this is, we should soon be seeing some of the medical corps who were in Vietnam. Yes, the field hospital, health support battalion. Figures show that a lot of casualties and fatalities in war, and in fact all wars, are not caused necessarily by direct enemy action, but are caused by disease and poor water, poor sanitary conditions, which are inevitable. And so the work of the health units is important, not only in repairing those who've been actually injured by enemy action, but to make sure the conditions under which the troops live and work are sanitary and healthy and so on. The food and services are designed to keep them well rather than to be neglectful.
Now, I should tell you, John, that we are coming towards the end of our parade. We haven't got a lot more to go. We are looking at the Royal Australian Regiment. I'm sorry, I'll start that again. We're looking at the Vietnam group at the moment. And following these fabulous diggers, we've got the Peacekeepers and the Peacemakers, who, of course, are our current diggers. We're looking at the Royal Australian Army Ordnance Corps at the moment, who are in South Vietnam between 64 and 72. Looks like a number of small animals marching along there. Those sporrans?
Are they sporrans? Is that what they're called?
Yeah. You ever been a big fan of the bagpipe?
Look, it's an acquired taste, I'm sure.
We should probably should.
I'm yet to acquire it, but certainly I like the sound of the drums in the Scottish bands and the Irish bands. They're very stirring, and I can well imagine on a morning much like this morning was, with rain and mist and cold and a bit of swirl of pipes and going into some sort of action. I'm sure that, especially if you gunfire breakfast, if you had a cup of tea with rum, I think that'd be a fairly warming experience, and you'd be ready to face the world.
I'd rather not be called a gunfire breakfast. That's all a bit, stressful. I'd rather it be called a, jacuzzi breakfast or something much more warming. We've got some guys here from I'm just looking at that amazing banner there. That's amazingly colourful. That was the Royal Australian Electrical and Mechanical Engineers Vietnam Association, RAEME, the Royal Australian Electrical and Mechanical Engineers, keeping the war running, certainly at the time. And they had to also worry about those Hueys. We are coming to you live today, of course, from Melbourne.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful, that electrical mechanical.
RAEME.
Yes. No wonder they shorten it.
And even shortens too long. Here we have the 1st Field Squadron Workshop.
And haven't they been around Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan and East Timor?
They're everywhere, certainly in current conflicts as well. And of course, we can't forget the Peacekeepers. They'll be coming up shortly, talking of East Timor, Iraq and Afghanistan. The 102 Field Workshop.
67 to 72. Very tumultuous, turbulent years.
You weren't alive then, though. You've only read about it in the history books.
I read about it in the history books.
I'm a bit disappointed. I've been waiting for the MASH squadron to come through, but that was a Korean War, wasn't it? MASH was
Yes,
based
we
in.
have Korean veterans, but
Yeah.
not particularly that one.
The Royal Australian Electrical and Mechanical Engineers 106 Field Workshop on screen at the moment.
Yes, you
In
can just
South
imagine the
Vietnam.
conditions these fellas had to work under.
Oh.
Field usually refers to a fairly frontline position, and they're trying to fix things. Not quite under fire, but occasionally. But without great workshops, certainly not air conditioned, and as best they could.
Well, we're talking about MASH, and here we have the Vietnam versions, the surgical and the medical teams. This is the Civilian Medical Teams Vietnam Association.
The medical teams did a great job in all the wars. Very often, very courageous, and even in captivity as prisoners of war, it was very often the doctor of the unit who went to see the the enemy's captor or commander and demanded or negotiated for better conditions, better food, and whose responsibility was to put different men on the sick list, which meant they had a day off work, which in the case of some of the camps like Changi and so on didn't please their captors, but it was the courage of the medical people who kept quite a number of them alive and well.
Certainly, they acted as the face quite often, didn't they, of a lot of prisoner of war camps?
Yes, they did.
Here we have the peacekeepers and the peacemakers. And now, this is Somalia we're looking at, which is the first in our peacemaker section I should say. We've got Somalia, Kuwait, East Timor, Iraq, Afghanistan, Solomon Islands, and of course all the other areas that Australia and New Zealand is active in. So we've got the, as we've just seen, the Solomon Islands there, Iraq. And it's easy to forget, we talk about the world wars and so forth, but certainly Iraq, that whole Afghanistan, it's quite a major engagement for Australia, isn't it?
Indeed, and when you look at the dates, some of these engagements have lasted longer than the Second World War and
it's true.
Longer than the First World War.
Absolutely. And I think, it really is testament to how important a role Australia's Defence Forces play in worldwide peacekeeping and theatres of war, that you can see all the different regiments we've got here, which have been active in all these different areas.
Yes, is that the Australian intelligence I just saw there?
A little too smart for me.
I think that's one of our strengths in
intelligence.
Yes, in breaking codes and all of that sort of thing. There's a lot of popular stories about the Second World War with codes being broken.
I'd say this man's either a chef or he got his hat confused this morning. Yes. I'd say that he's probably a chef there.
He's a bit worried about the baseball satellites, but I'd say he's a chef. The military police, not the most popular always. Been in a lot of places. And their slogan there, first in, last out. And these would be fairly tough, uncompromising guys at their prime. Ageing today.
That's a very impressive sight there. We can see all the Australian flags. The massed Australian flags, there they are. The National Servicemen's Association, John.
Yes, 51 to 72. That's a fairly long time, isn't it? My maths escapes me, but it's
that would be
something like 21
years. 21 years, yeah.
That's an awfully long time. And in three, I think Korea, Malaya, and Vietnam, they were active. And you see a mixture here. There's a fellow obviously from the Navy, there's some Army people. There weren't vast numbers involved in these in these operations, and so the numbers marching are not as large as, say, the 6th Division AIF or something like that. But they are significant actions nonetheless.
Now this, of course, are our different defence and national services. There's the post-1945 Defence Services, National Service Association A Company, the National Service Association B Company, and the OTU Seashell Association.
Yes, well, post-1945 actually is an interesting era because it's not generally talked about, but we, or perhaps not even generally known, but Australian troops went to occupy Japan after 1945 and were there for quite some considerable time. And there was a big operation just bringing the fellas home.
Yeah, definitely.
The demobilisation or demob. And then, of course, people might know Concord Repat Hospital, full of diggers. But for years after 1945, there was a lot of medical work going on, and a lot of, sadly, a lot of the fellas came back from the war, but passed on in the next month or year from injuries received at war.
Now, talking of demobbed, I believe Logan's down. We're starting to lose some of the audience now because the parade is wrapping up. But just as we see the National Service B Company come on screen, Logan's down with a digger with a very impressive array of medals. Logan, tell us all about it.
Yeah, no, yeah, thanks, Ben. Down here with Vern now. Vern has an amazing amount of medals there, mate. First of all, let me shake the hands of the champion.
Thank you,
mate. You want to tell me a little bit about today and?
Well, today is a tribute to all the people who fought and died and served Australia. In whatever capacity in uniform. There's nothing. We don't honour or glorify war. It's the opposite. People paid the supreme sacrifice. They gave their lives for this country and for the uniform and for this hat, and that's what it's all about, to honour them.
I think it's an important point you touched on. What are some of the things we can do to ensure that we don't have another situation where we have to go to war again? Because that's the main thing that we want to.
No soldier ever wants to go to war, believe it or not. That's you serve your country, but you don't really want to go to war and have to fight. If you're ordered to do so, you do it. But education, teach young people what Australia is, what it means, what it's about. So that every person, regardless of what political persuasion they are, what religious belief they are, what colour they are, whatever, can understand that this is a great country and people have fought and died to make it this way. And that's what we want. That's the thing. Educate people to live in this country, live together, live in peace, and enjoy the country, enjoy each other.
And I think in terms of some of the steps that we're taking now, we have a massive opportunity with the future generation to do that. In terms of some of the things we're doing, we're live streaming with the internet. We've got an amazing array of knowledge that we can give to the future generations. So, what are some of the things that you think are really important? Because once you've made that commitment and you're going to war, it's too late. What are some of the key messages that we need to understand?
To one of the families of those that do pay the supreme sacrifice, to educate their children, to make sure that their children know what they died for, and just to enjoy this great country.
Yeah. Now, you've got some fantastic medals here, and the hat. Tell me quickly about the hat.
The hat represents, to me, my great-great-grandfather wore a hat like this in the Boer War.
Yep.
My uncles and family served in the First World War, the Second World War. I served in Malaya and Vietnam. And that's what it represents. It's a tribute to all them.
Now,
it represents this country.
I really appreciate the time to meet you, Vern, and to get your thoughts and your perspective on it, because you are dead right. If we can educate people so that we don't have to go to war again, then we're winning.
Yeah. We are.
All right, guys, I'm going to throw back to you in the studio. Thanks, Vern.
Well, that was absolutely fantastic to see that. We've got the Brigade of Gurkhas here. This is the Commonwealth Forces. The famous Gurkha Brigade.
Yes, very
world
famous,
for their courage and how hard they are.
Renowned as fierce fighters, yes.
And apparently they're also good tuba players, which is fantastic. I didn't know that about the Gurkhas.
No, a little known fact about the Gurkha tuba playing.
This is the ex-serviceman from Ceylon.
Yeah, now
which is a
called
good tea.
yes, now called Sri Lanka, of course, one of the many countries that's changed its name with independence.
And so in this collection of the Commonwealth Forces, we've got the United States, France, Netherlands, Poland, Greece, Russia, Serbia, Turkey, Italy, Vietnam, and of course we've got the Air Force cadets wrapping things up. Now, I do have to say it's certainly a sign of how things have how the time has changed to have people such as Italy and Turkey and so forth here. Sort of it's great that everyone can come together and march together.
Yes, the relationship between Australia and Turkey has actually been wonderful since the cessation of hostilities. I think there was respect even on the battlefield at Gallipoli, but there's very nice things said in Turkey about Australian soldiers, that our soldiers rest in graves of their other motherland. Often very moving stories of Turkish and Australians coming together after the war, sometimes many years after, to meet with maybe a cup of tea between them rather than a gun barrel.
And thank heavens for the Turkish, because where would we be without things such as Turkish Delight and Turkish bread, which is one of my personal favourites. So thanks to the Turkish.
And they make wonderful cymbals, of course.
And they do, absolutely, for the drummers amongst us. As you can see, it's starting to get a little bit busier down there as all the rest of the people sort of wrap up as the marshals come in. Now that gentleman's certainly got a lot of medals there. So the Commonwealth Forces is closed by the Air Force cadets. And as you can see, we've got India very prominent in the frame there. We've got a secondary college joining us, playing busily. And look, just as today's parade wraps up, we should really remember all the people who fought for Australia and in the Anzac Alliance. It's great that Anzac Day can be celebrated every year and keeps it going for the generations.
Indeed. There we have I think that's a classic Holden, isn't it?
FJ?
Classic Australian. No, it's not an FJ, but it's a classic Aussie car to bring us to a close.
This is the South African Military Veterans Organisation.
And back to South Africa, where Australian military history could be said to have started with the Boer War.
Of course.
Which is these guys' backyard, really.
I originally thought it was because the war wasn't very exciting, but it wasn't that kind of Boer, I later found out.
No, some famous great actions in the Boer War and some great participants as well. I think Winston Churchill was a Boer War.
Was he? Oh.
Well, testing my memory there a bit. I was only young at the time.
That's right. Back in the 1890s.
Yeah, Boer War was 1899 to 1902. I just happened to have that information at the front of my brain.
The Rhodesian ex-services.
Yes, now Zimbabwe, but they've continuing to call it Rhodesia, at least on that banner.
And of course, for those of you who've just joined us, we're almost at the tail end of our broadcast, and it's the 2012 Anzac Day March in Melbourne, in Australia. And as you can see, it's been a bit of a rainy day in Melbourne today, completely unsurprisingly. Malta, there's the Maltese Ex-Service Associations.
I would predict you were going to tell that joke that's so famous. How do you make a Maltese cross?
How?
You jump on his foot.
That's right. Oh dear.
It's nothing like a good old joke, and that's nothing like
a good old joke.
Yeah.
Ah, yes. We can start talking about the Maltese Falcon. The Maltese Falcon any time now. It's a good book, wasn't it?
Yes, and film.
And Falcon. Here we have, we're really getting to the tail end. Of course, the Australian Scouts traditionally wrap up the, this is the Karen British Alliance.
Colourful crowd.
The Australian Karen organisation, where everyone in that group there is actually called Karen. Very colourful. Look at that. As I was just saying, traditionally the Scouts wrap up the tail end of the march, and we'll be seeing them very shortly.
It's a shame in a way that we all don't know a bit more about some of these groups because they have obviously done good service. They performed good deeds.
Here are the Allies. This is the Marshals.
Some littlies there.
There we go.
Allies, fairly generic term. Interestingly, by convention, allies who are on our side are always spelt with a capital A. It's a proper noun. But the
Absolutely.
allies of the enemy is always spelt with a small
And so it should
A.
be.
Yes, quite right.
Just joining us, we've got Logan down with some of the people as they're leaving, and Logan's going to have a quick chat to you, to us all about what things are like down on the parade ground as this march is wrapping up.
Yeah, I think everyone down here is just really, I guess, a little bit overwhelmed. I mean, the emotions have been flowing for a number of hours now, so everyone's got this sort of nostalgic, this sort of really humbling feeling about them right now. A few people are getting out of the wet, as you can see behind me. We're not sure whether it's raining or not here, so whether the umbrella's up or down, it doesn't seem to make any difference because we're absolutely soaked and drenching wet anyway. I think that in terms of what I've seen, Anzac Day down here in Melbourne and on St Kilda Road, it is special, and I think walking up to the Shrine of Remembrance, I think it's just a perfect setting. I know that a lot of people down here in Melbourne have turned out. They would turn out rain, hail or shine, but the sheer numbers, I think it's fantastic. The crowds by the side that were just clapping for hours and hours as people were walking down the street was just fantastic for us to see, working, but also as a bystander. So right now we're sort of getting closer towards the end of the parade, but I think there's this real sense of achievement more than anything else. I think for everyone that's got up early, put their medals on, people that have come down to watch and witness this, I think there's a real sense of achievement. Not that we've gone to war, not that we've faced any barrage of bullets or ammunition, but I think just the fact that we've all come down here and come together, I think is a real sense of achievement. So,
and Logan, how has it been for you being part of this as well? Like, has it been a special experience for you?
Yeah, I guess one of the great things that we get to do working in the media is we get to cover all sorts of events. I think on a scale-wise, I think the closest thing we've done was World Youth Day down here in Melbourne. And again, that was absolutely massive. Again, people marching through the streets. I think in terms of being down here personally, I'm always the sort of person that like to get involved in paying respect, so I'm always big on doing something on Anzac Day. I think what we've been able to do here today with live streaming, bringing it to the world, bringing it to iPads, iPhones, has been unique and rare, and it's a first. So I guess the production team and you technical guys all need to take your hat off for that. I've had the easy job here of catching some of the colour and catching some of the people that have been walking down the street, and even people like you on my right. G'day, sir. Can I just... How are you? even people here with this amazing amount of medals. Just quickly tell us about you with the 5 Ra, are you?
5 Ra, yeah, 5th Battalion, mate. Yeah.
We heard about you guys. We heard to cheer loudly for you. You had a whole bunch of fans over there.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see them at all, but yeah, they were a very good bunch to work with, mate. Fantastic bunch of blokes.
Great, and I'm just wrapping up and summarising our footage for today. But how would you sum up today?
Wet. I think actually for the weather, it's been a very good turnout, and really happy with the people that are coming out and cheering us on. You know, it's lovely to see.
I think the weather's just hardened everyone up a little bit in the start.
Yeah, we put the umbrella down when it rains. We've still got to be tough somewhere, mate.
Great. You off to watch the football now?
No, I'm going to have a beer.
You going to have a beer?
Yeah, I'm going to have a beer.
What are you drinking?
Not too many.
What are you drinking?
Oh, I don't know, whatever they're offering there. And I'll probably make it light just to be careful.
Do the lights. That means you can win more on the tour.
That's right. Okay.
All right.
All right, no worries.
Thanks
mate.
very much.
CD.
All right. So again, guys, that's the sort of camaraderie and the spirit. You know, you can just start talking and stop someone in the street, and you've got something in common with them. That's something that you might not notice when you're walking down the street. Generally, when it's not Anzac Day, but everyone here has relatives that have fought for the freedom of our country. And when you're walking down the street, you may not notice it. You might not think about it if it's not Anzac Day, but it's definitely something that we should keep in the back of our minds. And again, like I said, I've learned a little bit about how we can support not only the charities, the ex-servicemen, but also make our mark and keep our Australian pride and tradition going. From a media perspective, it's been fantastic being able to broadcast this out to the rest of the world, to people that couldn't make it down here because they were too far away in other countries, or even people that have to work on Anzac Day. It is tough if you are working. You're probably getting double time, but hopefully you're there on your iPhone watching our live streaming coverage. So from us on the street, I think we've had a fantastic day, and couldn't have asked for more. Probably the only thing I could ask for would maybe be a few more warm coffees during the broadcast, but that's okay. We can sort that out for next year. How's it been for you guys in the studio?
Well, of course, it's been complete luxury as always, Logan, up here in the studio. We've been enjoying our warm coffees and our jacuzzis whilst we've been watching the parade happening. Thanks for your good work. We'll cross down to you just to wrap things up shortly. But as we can see here, we've got the Victorian Association of World War II Veterans from the ex-Soviet Union. They needed a big banner for that, John.
Indeed. It is so confusing, isn't it, to know who's on what side for what war and so on. And I suppose that's a good thing, because old enemies become friends.
Well, they do, but certainly it's also confusing when the countries change their names.
Yes. We've had a few of those today.
And even, look, I certainly haven't been around anywhere near as long as you, but even I remember growing up with the Cold War and the East Berlin and West Berlin and the fall of the Berlin Wall, and certainly things have changed a lot over the past 20 years.
Well, indeed, you haven't been around as long, and I would have been in the Boer War had I not been too old for it at the time.
You had a leg complaint.
And that old leg problem.
Excused medically.
But I must say I've enjoyed the cars today.
Yeah, they're great, aren't they?
Very often they just put them all in taxis, but someone has gone to some effort today to...
I'm not sure how they'd get out of that car, though. That gentleman in the back there, that is not an easy car to get out of.
No, but it's a good-looking car. That's what's important.
It is form over function. But look, I think you're right. There have been some great cars today. Of course, we're just looking at Serbia at the moment and Turkey. And look, it is great for these guys to get out and get some recognition, because I think when they fight for their country, it's a whole different environment, but I think a large part of it is you just want that appreciation. You just want that sort of recognition, and I think it's great that we can all come out and do this.
Yes, well, there's the Turkish Veterans Association, and we talked about Turkey and the relationship now between Turkey and Australia. I think it's a very, very good one.
We've got an extraordinarily large and detailed banner brought by the Turkish. I don't think we're going to be able to read that today, but I'm sure that'll be available in booklet format for iPad.
I have noticed, though, that towards the end of the parade, people are walking a touch more slowly. It just could be my imagination, but I think it's probably a very exhausting parade for some people, for even a lot of people.
And also, you know, it's been 3 hours. We started at 9 o'clock on the dot. It's now 12:15, and there's been 408 separate groups come through.
Yes, it's a lot, isn't it? Fellow on his mobile phone there, that's...
Modern,
two.
isn't
Yes, very modern. They should be marching with the Signal Corps.
That's right. Intelligence. They're feeding it back. Here are the Italians, the Italian veterans. Oh wow! Look at that really.
They've turned out well.
They really have worn their traditional dress. I guess is the best way of me describing that.
There's a few medals there. I did notice that ex-Russian
yes,
fellow.
ex-Russian.
Had a tremendous number of medals. I think he had 3 rows on one side and a few dotted on the other side.
It'd be a shame to become unbalanced by your medals, wouldn't it? You know, you'd
Yes,
need to be
indeed.
careful about that. And I understand that there's going to be a great turnout at Gallipoli today as well. There's going to be our Victoria Cross holder. There's been a bit of controversy about him recently with the various comments on air and so forth. But he is a true hero, a modern day hero, and I believe he's going to be with the Prime Minister in Gallipoli.
Absolutely. And I've had for years a bit of a theory about Australian VC winners. And looking at the British VC winners and the American, I think it's the is it the Congressional Medal of Honour? I can't remember what's their highest one.
Yeah,
but
I think that's it.
Very often people win medals for killing other people. That's in brave ways. Very often what I see with the Australian VCs, and there's been quite a lot of them, it's not so much for going out and damaging the enemy, it is more for going out under fire and dragging back a wounded or injured comrade.
It's for heroic behaviour, isn't it?
Yeah,
really?
I think that's tremendously heroic, and I think it's one of our great Australian characteristics of putting the other fellow, risking our lives for a mate.
And I think Australians are well known for that, aren't they? They're very selfless in general.
Yes, and I think the history of what VCs have been given for reflects that.
This looks like the General Lee from Dukes of Hazzard coming up the driveway there towards the Shrine of Remembrance.
The car, that fancy car.
There it is, the orange one.
Well, I think it's also a measure where, on an Anzac commemoration with this parade, and the same in other cities, that it's not just the Aussies. We talked before about having everyone else, the non-Aussie, non-New Zealanders at the back, whether that's appropriate. But the fact that they're even in the march and causing no...
Yeah, I was thinking that's amazing to have the Vietnamese, marching with the Vietnam vets. I mean, that's a great sign.
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it?
Although, I do have to say, I don't think we've seen any Japanese here in this particular march. So, I'm just looking at our list for that. Here we have the Air Force cadets marching down. Of course, the Cadet Corps is a fantastic school-based program that gets youngsters involved in the Air Force, and of course the Cadet Corps for the Army. Were you an Army cadet at school, John?
Army, yes, not one of these Air Force fellows. We marched around and played our drums and bugles, and we got to take our rifles home. They were Lee Enfield 303s at the time.
Oh, well, that's very different from my day at school. Well, we've got a band sneaking in there behind the Air Force cadets. The parade is wrapping up. For our viewers at home, we now have shortly after the Air Force cadets, we have our marshals, and they've done a fantastic job today in controlling the parade.
This appears to be the contingent of scouts who, as we've said, traditionally close the march at the end of the parade. And I think with modern day life, when we look at the exploits of footballers and so on in the news in the bad way, we forget that there's a whole generation of kids who are guides or scouts.
Were you a cub, John?
I was a cub and a scout. Yes. Yep.
Didn't move on to the Rangers.
I didn't stick with it all that long.
I also was a cub and a scout. Did.
Yes, I loved cubs. It was a fantastic time.
It's not really talked about so much anymore, is it? And it's great to see so many cubs and scouts here.
Yep, all looking happy.
They're wearing their woggles.
They would have at least one woggle each.
There'd be a woggle each, correct? There's a very high woggle ratio. And that pretty much, you can see there with the kids giving us a big wave. That's really the tail end of the parade. So you can see some marching here.
Yes, led by a female. Actually, I didn't see the rank. I didn't notice whether she's an officer or... Well, that's the lieutenant. And I can't quite see the badge, but she looked like a lieutenant. I think that's a great thing too. And there are women now serving on submarines and so on. So back as we talked about, women becoming drivers and factory workers in the First and Second World War.
It's come full circle, hasn't it?
Absolutely, there's a fantastic equality now.
This is the Air League, which is effectively the Air Force version of the cadets, I guess, the Air League.
Yes, I think it's not school-based, but it's a community-based,
like brigade almost, isn't
something like that. Yeah, and I think it's a particular interest to people who want to maybe learn to fly or get their pilot's license, and they get a few flying hours.
I wish I'd known about that when I was young.
Yeah, it's an expensive thing to get your licence. I got mine in record time, of course, so it didn't cost me quite so much. But that wasn't on helicopters. Your helicopter licence would have cost you quite a bit in terms of instruction hours.
You can see the bags there. We've had quite a lot of exposure to the bagpipes today.
I reckon Logan could actually play in one of these bands next year.
And I reckon he should. I reckon it should be part of the coverage that Logan... and look at the weather protection there on those drums.
Yes.
I would never have thought that would have been appropriate, but obviously it still works.
They're usually used as mufflers for funerals, but they're obviously protecting their drums today.
Exactly. But it also gives you a sense. I mean, obviously it's 2012. It's been a long time since the war, the Great War, and of course the Second World War. But there are still so many people who march in this parade. It takes 3 hours. It does give you an understanding of how extraordinarily resourced the Defence Forces are.
Yes, and how profound an effect it had on so many people's lives.
Oh, huge, yeah.
Because a lot of these people will go away today and go back to their lives as retired persons or, plumbers or bank managers or whatever they do, and they just come together this one day. Be interesting to see Anzac Day in 3 years' time, because then it will be 100 years.
100 years, exactly. Well, look, I think on behalf of us up here in the studio, I think that pretty much does it for us. Big thanks to our sponsors, and also thanks to our viewers at home who are watching this first ever live webcast of the Anzac Day parade here in Melbourne. And to wrap us up, we'd like to just throw one last time to Logan Courtman, who's on St Kilda Road here in Melbourne, and he can say goodbye to you all watching live on the web. Logan?
Yeah, thanks again, guys, and thanks everyone for watching. As you can see, it's still quite busy down here on St Kilda Road, and we've had a great time, met a lot of new friends, and I'm pretty sure we'll be back here next year. It's been a fantastic time, not only seeing the bands marching, the ex-servicemen, but meeting some people that have relatives that have passed away and couldn't make it, that are walking down here and parading. It's really special, and it is unique. I think that something that we'll take away from today is just the strength and the pride that all the ex-servicemen have. Fantastic to shake hands with them once again, and just really special to be able to talk to them man to man, just person to person, in a really humble fashion about some of the extraordinary achievements that they've done. I guess the guy that stands out the most for me was the gentleman that was on the ship that was torpedoed, lost 2,000 of his mates with that one hit, and he was in the sea for 6 days, cracking jokes about him being free and you can only imagine what it would be like to be there. And then standing up here in St Kilda and marching, again, it's just absolutely huge. It's a fantastic effort, and we thank you all. You've done us all very, very proud. Again, we are going to be able to stream to you live next year. This year wouldn't have been possible without our sponsors, but thank you again for tuning in and watching. It's been fantastic having you with us wherever you are. Hopefully it's a little bit warmer than it is right here on a windy Melbourne afternoon, where the sun is trying to come out, but the rain is still coming at us sideways. So thanks very much for allowing us to have this opportunity down here on St Kilda Road on the march here, Anzac Day 2012. Take it away.
There is an escalating food crisis in West Africa. Drought has destroyed food crops, leaving families with little or nothing to eat. CARE is strengthening community food banks, training medical staff to prevent malnutrition and helping families develop alternative food sources. Early action saves lives. Every dollar spent in emergency prevention can save 7 in emergency response. You can help. Please donate to CARE's West Africa Appeal today. Visit care.org.au or call 1800 020 046.
There's a whole new way to create the best tasting fries without the oil, just with air. Introducing the Philips Air Fryer. For fabulous fries, just add air.
Lily didn't have much to smile about. 50% of the children in her community were malnourished, and diseases like diarrhoea, one of the biggest killers of children in poor communities, were common because of untreated water. And with her parents' income barely enough to cover basic needs, Lily was facing a future of sickness and basic survival. Thankfully, through Plan, Lily is now a sponsored child. $43 a month is making all the difference to Lily's future. Lily and her entire community now have a plan that has started their journey out of poverty. A new preschool building, new toilets, clean water and better hygiene. A plan that has changed the direction of Lily's life. Now, Lily says she hopes to become a teacher. With your help, $43 a month, a child just like Lily will have a plan for a better future too. Call 137526, go online or search for Lily's plan. And for $43 a month, you can see a child like Lily smile.
At Red Energy, we believe in people. We believe in community. And we believe in giving every Australian the energy they need to achieve their dreams. We're 100% Australian owned. And we're 100% committed to serve. Because that's the Australian way. Red, we're living energy.
Hi there, can I help?
Yeah, can you explain car insurance to me in plain English?
How does amazing insurance with awesome discounts sound?
I can get that.
Sure, we've done it for millions of other people.
Great.
And we'll throw in a lifetime repair guarantee.
Fantastic.
And personalised claims support at no extra charge.
Fantastic-er.
Fantastic-er.
Technically, that's not plain English.
Don't worry, it'll catch on. Get fantastic savings with Progressive Online Car Insurance.